Provided for the open public meeting law has been satisfied. Notice was properly given. Said notice having been transmitted to the Courier News and the Star Ledger on Wednesday, April 24th, April 24th, 2014, as well as posting on the bulletin board in the City Hall. Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Madam President, Council Members Brown,
Here.
Councilwoman Greaves, is absent at roll call. Councilman Storch is also absent at roll call. Be advised that Councilman Storch asked to contact her via phone during the time of the vote. Council Members Taylor,
Here.
Councilwoman Williams,
Here.
Chairman Reed,
Here.
Council President Rivers.
Here.
Madam President, we have 5 members present and quorum.
How are you?
At this time, I'll read the call for the meeting. Pursuant to Article 2, Section 2:2-10A of the Administrative Code of the City of Plainfield, 1971, special meeting is hereby called by the Mayor of the City of Plainfield, 7 o'clock on Monday, May 5th, 2014, in the Municipal Court, Council Chambers, 325 Washington Avenue, City of Plainfield, for the purpose of considering and acting upon the following: resolution authorizing the approval of a second amendment, assignment, assumption, modification, reinstatement on a pilot agreement to Liberty Community Associates, to Urban Renewal Entity, Liberty Village Estates, Urban Renewal LLC. Formal action may be taken, and this was by order of the Mayor of the City of Plainfield, Adrian O'Mac, and this was dated April 30th, 2014.
Thank you. Public comments are limited to resolutions and ordinance. We're now open for public comments. The floor is now open for public comments.
Isaac Sassoon, I'm the attorney for the purchaser. I just wanted to briefly say a little bit about this resolution, and I wanted to commend the City Council. I met with a number of you over the past couple of weeks. I appreciate your attention to this matter. It's obviously a very important matter. The community has shown their desire to move forward with this pilot agreement. And I did want to just express a couple issues that I know were discussed amongst you guys when we met in private, and try and allay any concerns that the residents may have. The future owner is a owner and operator of thousands of units of properties across the United States, specifically in the Northeast and specifically in New Jersey. We are an owner and operator, which means that a lot of the issues that the property has suffered through in the past will not be present going forward. The issues, I think, a lot of them were a function of not having management and ownership speak, and that won't be the case when Trico takes over. In addition, Trico's track record is fairly impressive. They've been one of the best owner and operators across the United States by measure of REACT score, among the highest REACT scores in the country. I think I've shared with you a number of REACT scores which are in the upper 90s, especially some recent ones. And specifically with regard to the property, I did want to discuss the issues that have been raised by the City Council and by the residents. I know the residents are concerned about their safety. In black and white, as you guys see, and as the residents have seen, the new ownership has agreed to move forward with camera systems, enhancing the what would be a new system at the property. We've agreed to build out a community room, specifically stating the square footage of that community room. We've also mentioned that we would be putting in computer stations. We've specifically mentioned that in the agreement. We've mentioned that we would be upgrading the electrical system. That's been included in the agreement in black and white. There's a number of things that we agreed to in addition to a first source agreement and other matters. And as far as dollars and cents are concerned, you guys also are aware that the pilot has increased by 60% in terms of the pilot payment. So I do understand the issues that have been going on in terms of some political matters that I want to rise above. And I'm sure that the City Council is aware of the desire of the ownership, past ownership and the future ownership to move forward, as well as the residents of Liberty Village to move forward with what I think is a very favorable deal. I did want to commend to all of you guys again, as well as the administration and the mayor and his team for getting involved with this and moving forward. And if you guys do have any questions, I know you guys all have my contact information. And I'm hoping that the vote here would be yes, which would be for the best of the city of Plainfield and the residents of Liberty Village.
Thank you.
Good evening, Carlos Sanchez, Deputy City Administrator for Economic Development. In addition to what the gentleman just expressed, I just wanted to make sure that the council members are aware that since the last time we met, we have been in a lot of meetings with the potential buyer. And in addition to the items that he spelled out that he agreed to, there was also a concern as far as that in the previous resolution, we didn't have any timing issues as to when these capital improvements will be done. So now we have added in writing that they will have 24 months to be able to complete all the different capital improvements that they have agreed to it. And they also will get a notice that if they don't comply within that time period, it will violate the pilot agreement. So that now is in writing, which was a concern that we heard from some of the city council members. And again, this agreement will even make it better than the one that we presented the last time. So I just wanted to make that, bring that to your attention as well.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council President, Council, Administration. My name is Alan Goldstein, 939 Madison Avenue. I just want to piggyback on what the two previous gentlemen said. I think at this point there's been a good faith effort to find the best deal to keep the property in good condition and move forward with improvements. They are spelled out in the agreement. As Mr. Sanchez had just repeated, there are time constraints on when these improvements have to be made, as well as there is the opportunity for the city to inspect the property upon 10 days written notice, which I think is fair. I think there have been a lot of deficiencies, obviously, over the years to get to the point where this has become a sort of contentious issue. And I hope that if we move forward and the city upholds its obligation, that we will be able to improve the quality of life for the tenants as well as for everyone here in the city. So I do hope we get everyone's support on this and we can put this to bed. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Council. My name is Municipal Muhammad. I live at 919 East Front Street, Plainfield, New Jersey. I've been a lifelong resident of the city of Plainfield, children and grandchildren in the city of Plainfield, and I've known the majority of the council members for quite a long time. I just have some questions and some concerns on behalf of family members and friends, on behalf of residents in the city of Plainfield. First, I just want to try to clear up some things that seems to be a misconception about the council not wanting to approve and look out for the best interests of the residents in Liberty Village. From what I understand and from what I can see, that's not so. And I'm sure many of the residents here know the council members that are sitting here. However, there were some concerns along with the council, with some of us as residents, and that was that the same things that happened for the last 30 to 32 years didn't be repeated. That there be some terms and conditions in regards to the things that are being promised, because we know that we always get a lot of promises, but those promises never get fulfilled. Nevertheless, I also want to make note of the fact that this deal came up and it seemed like it had been a rush. And I think that's where all the confusion came in at, because the rush didn't allow for terms and conditions to be in the agreement or things to be put in escrow to assure that certain things would take place on the behalf of the residents that live in Liberty Village. Then fear tactics were applied, meaning that they were threatened that they were going to be put out of their homes, which is not necessarily true. That is not the case. That is not the fact. The other thing is this. I have a letter in my hand that was written by Liberty Village Community Associates. I'm not going to read the whole letter, but I think there's some things in here I think the public should hear. And this letter was addressed to Congressman Rush Holt from Liberty Village Apartments. This letter speaks of, this was brought up in July 2013 to Adrian Mapp, Mayor Mapp. And Mayor Mapp asked us to wait to negotiate the assignment of the pilot until he took office in January 2014. Letter in my hand, if anybody like to have a copy of it, you can have a copy of it. So now, this didn't come just right up right then. It came up last summer. So if it was addressed last summer, then it was ample enough time for the terms and conditions to be put in place so that the residents could be assured to receive the things that they need to receive in regards to standard quality of life, living circumstances, and so forth, which they need to have in Liberty Village. It should be made very, very clear that the council is not against this wonderful deal, the sale of it in lieu of taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more speakers, can I have a motion to close public comments?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions, motion carries.
Council President, with your permission, if I can say a few words.
Sure.
First of all, thank you and the other members of the governing body for recognizing the importance of this special meeting and the importance of this particular item to the residents of Liberty Village. I can assure you and everyone else that is in this room here present this evening that this was not a rush process by any stretch of one's imagination. This is a process that was well vetted with my administration after there was an opportunity for us to do our due diligence. We spent a great deal of time vetting this and putting this agreement together. It was not a rush by any stretch of one's imagination. In terms of timing, the first time that I heard of this particular Liberty Village pilot issue was toward the end of October. Then I received a call from Assemblyman Green, who told me that he had the buyers and or sellers in his office, and would I mind speaking to them. This was the end of October. And I took the call. A similar call was made to Councilor Storch. And Councilor Storch, myself, and you, Council President, along with the buyers and sellers, we made a site visit to Liberty Village one afternoon, I believe in the end of October or sometime in November. And we had a lengthy discussion. And we talked about a lot of the things that we needed to see in terms of improvements. And I did inform the prospective buyer that there was nothing that I could do at that time. I will be taking office in January, and my administration will do everything that it can to make sure that we take a very hard and serious look at what was being proposed, and we would give it the attention that it needed and deserved. And upon taking office, my administration spent a great deal of time negotiating this agreement. So there is misinformation when anyone asserts that I knew about this back in July. I first knew about this in October, and I took every opportunity that I could upon taking office to make sure that this issue was addressed. You should also know that there is an email that I received with some attachments from Mr. Stan Perlman, who's the current owner, who informed me and informed those in the email that Assemblyman Green asked that this process be delayed until after the June election. And furthermore, the Assemblyman also asserted that he could get Congressman Rush Holt to delay this HAP agreement. Well, there was a letter written to Rush Holt's office, and there was a conversation with a representative from Congressman Holt's office, and they explored all of the options as was insinuated by the Assemblyman, and those options were not available. I have an email in front of me as I speak that clearly states that there can be no extension of this HAP contract, and that this HAP contract, the new HAP contract, must be delivered on or before May 7th. If that does not happen, these 96 families at Liberty Village will have no place to go within a certain time, because the property will go to market rate housing, and it will be beyond the reaches of, I believe, most, if not all, of the families at Liberty Village. So I urge the governing body to take actions based on the facts. This is not about me, it's not about any of you up there. It's about the 96 families that will be negatively affected if you don't do the right thing. And at the end of the day, all of us must work cooperatively, collaboratively, together, so that we can move the city forward and we could provide decent housing to the people who need it. So I ask you, I urge you to take positive action, vote in the affirmative on this agreement.
Mayor Matt, I also was in receipt of that letter, but I will also state that I did receive a copy of the letter from Mr. Stan Perlman stating that when this issue was first brought forth, that you asked him to wait until you took over in January to negotiate this contract. Now, I was in the meeting in November, but I felt in January, if that's what you wanted them to do, to wait until you took over, that contract should have been negotiated in January, February, March, giving council members a full update as the process was taking place. Now, I'm also in receipt of the letter from Rush Holt office. I received that information on Saturday. So before I came here today, my mind was already made up, because I already knew that the extension that we needed to vote on this. But what I take appalled to is that my colleague going to my area in the fourth ward, well, it's hers too, because she lives in Plainfield, and put out misinformation to try to get residents out, to try to get them out here to cause a spectacle at this meeting, when all of us here was already going to vote for this after receiving that information. I was not just going to give up a yes vote to anyone until, as I stated before, I can get the correct information, and that the monies that they're saying they're going to be used to redo these apartments could be put in escrow, and not the $1.something million that was given before to redo these units be spent. So this is why I prolonged. So for this, I just received a copy. It's actually, this went to my sister's house before I got home from work. A couple residents went to her house and gave her this. This is misinformation, and this is bad business. If you guys want, if you talk about let's work together, let's work together, and not try to. We had a meeting at Pastor Brown's church to try to get more information. So we never put out anything that was incorrect information. We were asking for correct information. This is wrong. This is wrong at its worst. So to get them out, to try to get them here, to try to persuade, as you guys start to persuade us to vote yes, it was going to happen anyway. But I was not going to vote yes on something that I know would hurt them. So until I received that letter from Rush Holt's office stating that if this pilot was not passed, that the residents would be in danger of losing their housing. That was the turning point for me. So I just take offense. I take offense to us playing politics on the backs of these families. I take offense to that.
With your permission, Council President, just one other point of clarification, Council President,
Yes.
with your permission. I think that it needs to be made very clear, and I know that you know it, everyone on the dais, all council members know it, I know it. In November, I was a member of the governing body, and members of the governing body are in no position to negotiate contracts for the city, for the administration. So clearly, in November, I could not have done anything to negotiate a contract in terms of the Liberty Village. And I did say to the prospective buyers that when I take office, I will do the right thing. And that's exactly what I did. Furthermore, it should be made very clear that I have nothing to do with the presence of the residents of Liberty Village who are here present this evening. I have nothing to do with that. I believe they have a right to be here, and I appreciate the time that you have given me and what you have seemed to imply that the governing body will do the right thing this evening. Thank you.
Council President, any comment?
Can I make a comment?
Sure. Since
I'd like to, I asked for, is that all right? I'll be here. I just want to say that, excuse me, I don't know what's so funny, let's be respectful. Oh, I don't have a problem with you to go before me, that's up to the president of the council, okay? I just like to say that I was at the meeting with all the residents. And I had some major concerns. I think the presentation by our economic development officer and the new company was excellent. I did speak with them privately myself, but then I began to do some more research myself, and I have some major concerns. I hear the words that the mayor is saying that he wants to work collaboratively with the city council, and I would like to believe that, not only in this matter, but other future matters. But I also think that there has to be a collaboration where the council's brought in early, especially something like this. This goes back, what, 20, 30 years, when this was done in the past with other housing commissioners. But I still have some questions about why the Housing Authority was not brought to the table, because that's our local agency that works directly with HUD and with public housing. That bothered me, and now I see they're in litigation with the owners. So I still have that question as to what that's all about and why administration and the council were not brought together earlier to begin to address and problem solve together, particularly when this goes back 20 years, 20 plus years, not just the situation now with the residents who are here, but the conditions in that place and what happened to it and who took over and what happened after that. So it's not just a matter of now, but in the interest of the needs of people. I'm appalled that my colleague would write a nasty letter and get you all excited about something, yes, that I believe we were going to do anyway. We were going to do the right thing. We could not get information from HUD that did not guarantee that the residents would not have a problem with, I call it Section 8, or the amount of money that they pay. And for that reason alone, I was really, regardless of what I thought and the issues I still feel are on the table that need to be addressed, that was more important, because I put myself in the same place as anybody in here who live in that development. But this is not over. And so what we do tonight is done in the spirit of cooperation and collaboration, and that I do agree with our mayor on that. Whatever happened or didn't happen in the past, we cannot do this and do negative politics like this was discussed in this letter on the backs of people who are our residents, because it could be you or me or anybody. So for that reason alone, I think that all the rest of the stuff needs to go away, and let's move on and address the needs of people. And I think that's what we're trying to do here tonight. I know that's what I'd like to do. But this is a political season, so maybe that's why we're getting all this nasty stuff. But that's not your problem. And when I found out that we could not guarantee that nothing would happen to your funds, etc., everything went out the window, and we have to vote and do the best thing and what's best for all of us, including our residents. And as I said to you that night, many of you are my students, I do know you, and you will see my face again. And I'm not going to stick, and I'll let my friend or my colleague respond to this, because I thought this was below the belt, it was down and dirty, and this is not the way you act as an elected official. To lambast other elected officials just to get people excited. But I trust that the people who are sitting here know what really is the truth. And I know that you know people that you can trust, and not just folk who put stuff in writing, okay, for political reasons. And so, for that reason alone, I'm going to, of course, do what I think is the right thing. But I am concerned that there's litigation with Housing Authority. I mean, these other pieces that have not been answered, and we can address that after we do the right thing for people. Council President?
One thing that I would like to say that Council President said that I truly agree with is that I represent all of Plainfield. I represent the 2nd and 3rd wards at large as a councilor, but every vote that I make affects everyone here in Plainfield. I would leave it to you, the residents of Liberty Village, to decide whether the flyer that I distributed urging you to come out tonight was nasty or dirty. I laid out the facts as I saw them. I said that this pilot agreement will go right out the window if the council does not vote. I was not told that, I've been around all weekend. I didn't receive any emails or any information from any of my colleagues or phone calls saying, hey, we thought about it and we think it'll pass, etc. So the last ditch effort to try and do the right thing for the city to ensure that you all get to see your elected officials at work. And I hope this isn't the only meeting that you come to, because the business of the city affects all of us. So it's great to see you all out. I think the flyer did its job because you all are here. But I would leave it to you to tell me whether you thought there was anything nasty or political. I laid out the facts. The pilot is going to expire if we don't make a favorable, if we don't vote yes. As far as I knew, there were only 3 people in favor on this body who were in favor of it as of the delivery of that flyer. I'm glad that my council colleagues will be voting in favor of this. I think that the past few weeks, as we've been looking at this issue, I think that the resolution is, going to be very favorable to you all. And I do go by Liberty Village on occasion. I've talked to people, a few of you do know me. So thank you very much for coming out, and I hope it's not the only time you come out. Thank you very much.
Good evening. It's such a pleasure to see so many of our citizens out on this problem. I voted no at the last meeting because I needed a little more information, and I did receive some of it, and I received enough, I guess, to satisfy me somewhat. We just lost 120 apartments here in Plainfield that was subsidized by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development as HUD. The other year, we almost lost a lot of units because of the owner not doing what he was supposed to do. My concern is for anyone that must live under the umbrella of receiving some assistance in paying their rent. And I think most of you who qualified for the units meet that criteria. Every day I get a call from someone needing an apartment here in Plainfield, and they can't find one that they can afford. I also get calls about landlords who don't give a you-know-what about the residents. Call them up, okay, we'll be there, and they never come, they never do what they're supposed to do. My concern in this matter is to assure that we do not get in a situation in which you're going to be calling and coming here because you cannot get something repaired, are taken care of. I also want to say, as a former executive director and a developer in Newark, under the Newark Housing Authority, executive director of the Orange Housing Authority, there is a responsibility for the residents that sometimes passes over our heads. First, you've got to pay your rent and pay it on time. It takes your money to keep the units running properly. Secondly, you gotta respect where you live. You gotta help keep it clean. You've got to keep down some of the problems that persuade our young people to go wrong, and that is supporting activities in which the police must come down and settle. Supporting your friends living with you and not on the lease. This must be done in order to maintain a decent and safe place to live. There's a lot of responsibility on you. One of the things that I've been told, and I haven't seen myself quite frankly, is that the drug dealers just persuade and just run over you and take over. Please, that's not right if that's true. I don't know. If you see some activities where these young people are gathering, please call our police department and let them know. So the responsibility runs two ways. From the landlord, who must maintain these units and keep them safe and decent and a pleasant place for you to live, and you who live there have a responsibility to pay your rent and become good citizens and train your young people that you're raising, those beautiful young kids that you're raising, to do what they're supposed to do.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you.
And I thank you for coming out, and I too would like to see you here to look at what we do at these seats. Our votes are very important. We've been elected to represent you, our citizens of Plainfield. Thank you very much, and hopefully this passes and we'll go on, and this landlord, who's supposed to be excellent and take care of everything, keep his promises, and we have a contract. If he doesn't, we'll be here again without voting on a new owner with Section 8, because the contract said if he doesn't do what he's supposed to do, the contract is null and void, meaning that it's no more good. But it's you we're concerned about. And I think of no votes, incidentally, which was criticized somewhat, caused you to be here tonight. It caused the contract to be better. It caused the landlord to know that he can't come in this city and just run over us. Please. And thank you, Mr. Landlord, representative, and you hold it to them and tell them we mean it, okay? Also call on Mr. Mapp to make sure that the inspections are done properly, and go out and you have a problem out there, try to take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
I can assure you.
1 second. Councilman. Go ahead, Councilman.
Just one final comment, Council President. I can assure you that a contract that you will consider this evening is the same contract that you were asked to consider weeks ago. And it's the same terms and conditions, the same 10%, the same improvements. And so I want to make that very clear. Secondly, the city's inspection department will do what it must do. But it is extremely important for us to recognize that the inspections of multi-dwelling units is the responsibility of the state. And so I would hope that our assembly person, who's the head of housing, will ensure that the proper inspections is done so that these families could live in decent housing conditions.
Okay, in
That's my
response to the assemblyman, I'm sure that he will make sure that the state come in and make sure that these inspections pass. But in negotiating of the contract, there were some additions from our last meeting. Mrs. Sassoon can tell you that there was some negotiations because we just didn't say yes, because we care about these residents. So we negotiated a great contract for you guys. There's gonna be monies put in escrow so that your apartments can be well taken care of. And most of you, the majority of you out there know my phone number. If you don't see any changes, just let us know. We had to do the best that we could, and understand this. My vote still would have been no today if I had not received that information stating that you guys were in jeopardy. You could be in jeopardy of losing your Section 8. I would never, ever, ever allow that. That's the only reason why I'm supporting this today. And and another reason is because we have such a great economic development person. Mr. Carlos Sanchez, you do a magnificent job. And you gotta give credit where credit is due.
Thank you, Dr. President. Thank you.
You have to. So with that being said, can I have a motion to close public comments?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions, motion carries.
Again, good evening, and it's a pleasure to see you, and I'm going to call a resolution. Council President.
It's Councilman Storch.
Oh,
Hi, Councilman
Storch is
Storch.
on the phone.
I know we just voted.
No, the vote didn't take place yet.
No, it didn't take place.
No, it's about, he's about to offer the resolution.
Okay, before we offer the resolution, I just want to say something briefly. I mean, I'm assuming that we're going to approve this, and as well we should. I think, there's a lot of discussion and, quite frankly, finger pointing about, who's to blame for things getting to this point. And I hope we're done with that. But I do think we should look forward so that this doesn't happen again. Because what happened with the condition of these units was this is not a new situation. This has been going on for years. Right? I learned this at the community meeting at the church. So obviously there was a breakdown in the system because these residents do have rights. The rights are in writing. And so going forward, the city, even though the state's responsible for the inspections, we, the city, and by that I mean the administration and the council members, should make sure that the residents know their rights, that they have a copy of their rights, so that they know the phone number that they have to call when they have this kind of problem, so it doesn't fester and drag on for years. Because whether it's the state or the city that's responsible for the inspections have to be done. And not like at the 11th hour, like we're talking about now, this should have been resolved years ago. So the residents have to know their rights, and then we have to do our parts as council members when we become aware of these problems, that we get on it right away. Not just wait till this project is on the verge of going down the tubes unless we vote. We should never allow this situation to happen again.
Thank you, Councilman Storch.
Okay, again, Ms. Greaves.
Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to see all of you here. I'm so happy that we have something that is important, that all of us come out and pull this community together. This pilot program, I was not in favor of it when it came up. As a matter of fact, it was just dropped on me like a bullet. I didn't even know what was happening. Anyway, since I've gone on and seen all what's in the contract, there's only one thing that I want to ask. And would like to really know who is going to police the people who are supposed to keep the residents clean, up to date with all the contracts. Who's supposed to keep note of that? And how and when is it going to be done? Number one. And number two, Your residents, you're the ones who are living there. People do not know if you're living in squalor or not. So you're the ones who are going to have to come out and live up and say, you know, this is where I live. I'm paying for it. I refuse to live in squalor because I deserve better than this.
Right.
So it's up to you all to get it and make sure that all these rules are being kept. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reed.
Just to answer your question, Carlos Sanchez, Deputy City Administrator for Economic Development. Basically, the way these contracts will work, once we execute the final contract, a copy of the contract will be given to council, a copy of the contract will be given to a tax assessor, and also a copy will be given to inspection departments. So now it's up to us to push the inspection departments to continue to go and do the inspections. And as far as the commitment from my office, the Economic Development Office, obviously this is an agreement that I negotiated, I was part of it. So now it's part of my obligation to make sure that I continue to keep communication with the potential new owners. So that's the way we will enforce that. And as soon as we get reports from the inspection department, and obviously every year they will have to provide to us not only their financials, but a copy of the HUD inspection reports. And once we see the HUD inspection reports, if we see that those inspection reports are falling below par, then we will have a visit and a meeting with the owner.
But we also need to put a place there where residents can come and complain without fear. You know. So we need, that's,
But
yeah, go ahead.
part of what we negotiated, which is in writing, is that the new owner will be doing their best effort to establish better communication than what we had in the past years. Now, we're going to be meeting with the potential new owner and trying to detail exactly what that means. I'm not sure. They might help assist the residents set up a tenants associations, or they might establish some type of newsletter. And I gotta echo what Mr. Reed said. It has to be also part of the residents taking part and making sure that they keep they help us keep the landlord to order. So.
Can I ask one question? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Mrs. Sisson. Will you have a management office in the facility?
Yes, the management office that is there is going to continue.
It'll be the same employees there?
I'm not sure about employees. I'm not at that level as far as what's going to happen with employees or specific management decisions. But I do know the office is going to remain.
The office will remain, okay. You guys hear that, right? So if you have any complaints, go straight to the management office. Okay. Mr. Reed?
Thank you. Finally getting to it. I hope that all of you are observing how your government works here in the city. We're responsible for you and keeping the city as safe and decent as we can, and we need your help. I call Resolution R176-14, which is a resolution which authorizes the approval of a second amendment, assignment, assumption, modification, and reinstatement of a power agreement to the Liberty Community Association to the Urban Renewal Entity, Liberty Village Estates Urban Renewal LLC. That's the resolution we're talking about, which will give the right for the old owners to sell to a new owner who has promised to make your living much, much better, and it's up to you. May I have a second on the resolution?
Second.
Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
So roll call on resolution R176-14, seconded by Councilwoman Taylor. Councilmembers Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Greaves,
Yes.
Councilman Storch,
Yes.
Councilwoman Taylor,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams,
Yes.
Chairman Reed,
Well, yes.
Council President Rivers.
Yes.
That's unanimous. This resolution is adopted.
I'd just like to say to the audience, you may want to stay for our agenda fixing meeting to continue to observe how we take care of business here and how the new mayor is going to serve you in the future. Please keep your seat and learn.
We have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Can I get a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstention, motion carries. 5 minutes. All right, there you go.
Williams?
Here.
Chairman Reed? Chairman Reed?
I'm here.
Council President Rivers?
Here.
We have 6 members present.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, do we have any communications from the mayor?
None received, Madam President.
Okay, any other communications and petitions?
Yes, correspondence received from the Friends of the Plainfield Public Library, and they're requesting approval from the governing body for use of the library park to conduct an outdoor Latin dance concert / cultural affair. And this is going to be held on Saturday, June 12, 2014, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. This has received the necessary approval from the Department of Public Affairs and Safety. Additionally, we have correspondence which was received from Mr. Edison Garcia, and he's requesting permission for street and sidewalk encroachment from the governing body, and that's to conduct the annual outdoor fiesta days, and it's celebrating the independence of the United States. This request will require the closure of the city-owned parking lot, which is identified as lots 8 and 8A, and this will take place on July 11, 2014, July 12, 2014, and July 13, 2014. And this has also received the necessary public safety approval. Additionally, Mr. Edison Garcia has also asked for permission for an encroachment for the outdoor fiesta day celebrating the independence of Central America. And this will require the same closure of lots 8 and 8A. This is on September 12th, 2014, September 13th, 2014, and September 14th, 2014. This has received the proper approvals from the Public Safety Department as well. Correspondence received from the Marie Group / Voluntar Productions, and they are requesting permission from the governing body for street and sidewalk encroachment to conduct its 3rd annual Hispanic Heritage Festival. This request requires the closure of the city-owned parking lot 1. This event is scheduled to take place on September 12th, 2014, September 13th, 2014, and September 14th, 2014. This has also received the necessary correspondence received from Supremo Food Market requesting permission from the governing body for street and sidewalk encroachment, and this is to conduct a health fair. This would require the closure of the city-owned parking lot, which is located at Block 318, Lot 4. This would take place on Sunday, June 29th, 2014. This additionally has received public safety approval. We also have an addendum for street encroachment from the Plainfield Special Improvement District Management Corporation, and they're requesting permission for street and sidewalk encroachment to conduct the Plainfield Car, Bike, and Truck Show on Thursday, June 12th, 2014, Saturday, June 28th, 2014, Thursday, July 17th, 2014, and Friday, August 22nd, 2014. And I do believe that there's a representative from each of these organizations requesting these street encroachments available to the council, should the council have any questions.
Ronnie, don't leave it. Thank you.
Yes, Madam President, may I just make one comment? If you notice, September is going to be a busy month, 12th, 13th, and 14th, with 2 festivals going, if you will. I hope that they comply with the rules and regulations that we impose also keep the music at a nice level, so I, who live about 2 miles from it, can enjoy it in my backyard. I've got some complaints about it. And Mr. Clerk, I think you mentioned that the Hispanic Heritage Festival, the 3rd annual, was in Lot 1, and it looked like it's in Lot 9. Was that, did I hear you wrong?
It's lot 1.
Lot
It is
1?
lot 1. Lot 9 is in error, it's lot 1.
Okay, so it's the area here, it's Lot 1.
Thank you.
Where's Lot 1 located in France?
Council President, question?
Yes.
With regard to those resolutions, is there a way that we can, just based on, you know, some things I observed and also resident complaints last year, that these events can have a roped-off area for alcoholic beverages, kind of like when they have beer gardens or whatever, that those who are drinking alcoholic beverages be constrained to one particular area so that they're not going about with children and so forth, because I've noticed that.
Great.
Not even just here, but also in New York City, etc. But to have a roped off area.
Great idea. Do you have to amend it?
No, I can just write that in a resolution for consideration next week.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rowland, you have, I'm sorry, Mr. Rowland has input.
Can I address that?
Sure.
Good evening, members of council, members of the public. Carl Riley, Director of Police and Public Safety. Sorry, can you hear me now? That will be addressed. I think that's a great idea. I'm going to have police officers on staff. They're required to hire approximately 4 to 5 police officers, depending on the magnitude of the event. And we will definitely explore that and make sure we do comply with that and make sure there's adequate security, safety, and that is complied with.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the noise level is kept at a decent level.
Yes, the noise level is going to be monitored, it's going to be kept at a decent level.
Thank you.
What we'll do is during the week, we'll be shutting down, I guess, at 9 p.m. for the week, and that will be in September, but in July, the noise level will be shut down at 10 p.m. Then the event can extend to 11 if they're going to be there a little bit longer, and same thing at 9. If we're shutting down the noise, it'll be extended to 10 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay. Financial reports we received the bill list. Any reports of special committees?
Yes, regarding public safety, I received a full report from Mr. Carl Raleigh. I gave all the council people a report. Also want to commend Mr. Raleigh and his staff for a wonderful job they did during last week's storm. A couple people were in floodwaters and they were rescued. And we will just thank Mr. Raleigh's staff for the fine job they did during that storm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, since I know she was about to leave, to the Director of Recreation. Yes. I have to commend you on a job well done Saturday. Can we give her a round of applause? I give credit where credit is due, and you did a phenomenal job, and I just wanted to really say thank you on this.
Well, thank you all for coming.
Keep it going that way for the kids, for the children, okay?
My pleasure, thank you so
I
much.
have just a very brief, I'll send a written report, but just, I did have one meeting with Recreation, and the sole topic on the agenda was the Independence Day parade, so they were, it was Superintendent Taylor, Ms. Burnett, and Cynthia Smith, and they seem to have things well in hand. You see that there's a resolution tonight for the fireworks.
Yes.
Folks, so it seems like things are coming along very, very well. That's kind of it.
Okay, now we have discussion items. The Citizens and Budget Advisory Committee, do you guys have some feedback for us, a presentation? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Richard Stewart. I'm the chair of the CBAC organization this year for fiscal year 2014. I'm the chair of the...
Speak in the microphone.
Hello? You hear me now?
Yes.
All right, here we go. My name is Richard Stewart. I'm the chair for the CBAC for fiscal year 2014. We do have a presentation for
Your
you.
address.
Address, 1171 Gresham Road.
Thank you.
May I pass out the presentation? Also, is there an email address I can email the presentation so that in its final version?
I'll give you my email address and I'll send it to the council.
Great. So just in way of background for those who don't know, CBAC stands for Citizens Budget Advisory Committee. We're a select group of citizens who attend the budget hearings for the fiscal year and provide our recommendation and the perspective of the citizens of Plainfield. Moving on to the second page, recommendations regarding the budget process. For time, I'll just highlight the text. As always, CBAC was provided late notice regarding the budget hearings. CBAC members are selected a few weeks in advance. However, we received a mail notice a day after the first budget hearing. We all felt that that was unacceptable. We were selected and notified by the representative of the council. I was selected a couple weeks prior, and then a couple weeks went by, and then I received a mail, and it tells me that the first notice was yesterday. The first hearing was yesterday, and that happened for a lot of the members. And we strongly suggest that change, and that all CBAC members are given proper notice so that they can arrange their schedules to attend all the meetings. Small sample size. The budget process is about approximately 2 weeks, 6 sessions long, and only a certain number of agencies and divisions are present. We just had questions on how those agencies and divisions are selected. I've been here for 2 years. I've seen some divisions go every year that I've been here, whilst some divisions and agencies have never been present before. I think there's a huge booklet which has approximately 20-25 agencies, and again, we only saw maybe 6 or 7 this year. Just an explanation on how, again, the agencies and divisions are chosen, and what happens to those agencies and divisions that are not chosen. Are they required to give a presentation, and who is reviewing their budget? That's not occurring within the budget hearing. Short review time, again, like I said before, there's 2 weeks to review all those pages, and 2 weeks and 6 hearings to consider what was presented during those budget hearings. And that also includes our time it takes to meet up and review the process. We feel that at least an extra week is needed. Lack of full participation by the city council members. First, we'd like to thank Councilman Reed and Councilwoman Greaves for attending all the hearings, all 6 hearings. Unfortunately, we would recommend, and we didn't see all the council there for all those 6 hearings. And this is an important responsibility. It's a budget hearing. You're providing millions of dollars to various agencies and divisions within the city, and that's taxpayer money. And we just feel if you're going to have 6 sessions, that everyone should be there. So, specific recommendations regarding what we did deliberate about. Police and Fire Division. CBAC felt they were too top-heavy. You had a large number of supervisors compared to what we call entry-level positions, and what was explained was that the supervisors were doing entry-level work. So the city's paying supervisors to do entry-level work, but they're getting paid at supervisory levels. We felt that that's unfortunate and not fiscally sound, and that in order to solve that, the city council and the city administration has to be harder on union negotiations. There has to be new hires, and there has to be caps on who can make supervisor. Otherwise, again, you're gonna have a top-heavy debate, and that's both for fire and police. Reduction in overtime. Police division overtime expense in 2013 was almost $1.3 million, and then there was additional $105,000 spent on comp time and between the overtime and the comp time, that represents 10% of their budget. But yet they hired 9 new officers. With the new personnel, there should be no reason why they cannot reduce their overtime and their comp time. To their credit, on the budget line, they're hoping to reduce their overtime and comp time by, I believe, 33%, which is a great start, and that we hope that they hold on to that and abide by that, and that there's a constant monitoring by the city council and the city administration to reduce and eventually eliminate comp time and overtime. Fire department was not as fiscally ambitious. Their overtime was approximately $460,000 with an additional $22,000 in comp time, and yet they hired 8 new firefighters. But unlike the police division, they did not have any reduction in overtime and comp time. With the new personnel, there's no reason why they should not be able to reduce their overtime and comp time by some percentage, and that we request that the city council and the city administration have the director of the fire department explain why they cannot reduce their comp time and overtime or reduce it themselves independently. Recreation. CBAC is recommending an increase in statistical data. CBAC is concerned with the lack of empirical data concerning the recreation division. I listed a few of the data that we were looking for. Total number of enrollees per month, total number of unique enrollees per year, and audit the seasonal workers to determine how many they are and how much each person receives per season. Seasonal workers account for $378,000. Yet we did not have enough lifeguards to keep the Plainfield pools open. CBAC found that very concerning and unexplainable. Total amount of grant money received per quarter, total number of program fees collected per quarter, total number of enrollees per program, so on. One issue that we felt that needs to be addressed is an audit on whether recreation can increase its fees. I know fees are a hot button, but the current fee schedule undervalues the programs being offered. Many residents will be willing to pay more for a better product. Better programs means increased enrollment, which means increased revenues, which means even better programs. The recreation can still make these programs affordable to disenfranchised residents via income-based reduced fees or fee waivers. Despite certain assumptions, Plainfield residents are not all poor, and they are willing to pay a little bit more for their children's growth. So with that said, statistical data should be increased, and that will increase transparency, identify trends for better efficiency, and justify increased budgets. Moving forward to information and technology, we would again increase statistical data. There's a list of things that we think should be monitored, and for time purposes, I'll just move forward. Recommendations regarding media. CBAC strongly encourages a reduction in salary. Media's request for 100% increase in salaries is ridiculous. The director's position of $80,000 accounts for one of the reasons why it's up 100%. Yet the director did not justify her position. It's a position that never occurred within the city. And even though she was there, she didn't speak. She spoke very little about her justification of her position, and we felt that to be meaningful. CBAC recommends that the position at least be part-time, and give her an opportunity, give the position an opportunity to justify itself and explain what value she adds to the city before the city commits $80,000 a year plus benefits for that position. Also, there's a request for a clerk one of $36,000. Many agencies and divisions do not have clerks under their belt, and there was a lack of justification for why the media section needed a clerk, while some of the other agencies that serve larger portions of the population do not have clerks. And a better use of ad space for PCTV. It was discovered that most of the hours PCTV is airing slideshows of questionable facts, well, not questionable facts, but uninformative facts about Plainfield. There should be an audit or a study of whether that ad space could be monetized, or if it can't be monetized, at least provided to local businesses for promotional ads free of charge, and which will increase commerce at no additional cost to the residents. Moving on to the health division. One of the most alarming facts about the health division was that up to date there was only 14 restaurant audits, and yet there's 200 restaurants in the city, and the health division only only inspects roughly 30% of the restaurants in Plainfield City. That's ridiculous. It's a risk to the citizens' health who visit those restaurants. And what was the most disturbing was that the health division seemed to accept that fact, that it just can only reach 30%. CBAC recommends that there be increased effort into the personnel and the increased number of inspectors, either part-time or full-time. CBAC recommends part-time inspectors so that the city does not have to be responsible for employee benefits. But 30% inspection rate is unacceptable, and the health division should be accountable for that. And then there's the health division should have a plan on increasing animal licenses. I believe there's approximately 100 cats in the city as far as the records go, and that there should be a plan on increasing those number of animal licenses. Public Works. Similar to the fire and police, they're extremely top-heavy. And again, CBAC strongly recommends that the city administrator, as well as city council, have tougher union negotiation tactics to ensure that the city is, again, not paying supervisors to do entry-level work. A supervisor should not spend most of its day cleaning up, the garbage or anything like that. They should be supervising. And if that work still needs to be done, then there needs to be a transition to entry-level workers, to pay entry-level workers and not paying, again, supervisors to do that type of work. Accounting for seasonal workers, Public Works requests a 50% increase in its seasonal worker pay from $100,000 to $150,000. There needs to be additional justification accounting for those seasonal workers. How many seasonal workers are being hired? How are the seasonal workers recruited? Who are they? How much are they being paid? And what are their qualifications? All these questions need to be answered before an increase like that occurs. And overall, Public Works needs to be more proactive versus reactive. One of the longer discussions during the budget hearing was that Sandy and the winter storms that happened put them well behind what they were able to do. Other municipalities had that same issue, and yet they're able to be proactive and grow their public works. There needs to be better plans of how to move forward versus simply just trying to catch up. Inspection division. Inspectors are not available on weekends to address violations that occur during weekends, such as illegal multiple dwellings. There needs to be union negotiations to allow inspectors to work on weekends or have alternative work schedules. There's a lot of things going on during the weekends that just is not being accountable for because they're limited to Monday through Friday. Economic development. Increased director oversight. During the budget hearing, while it was a great presentation, I think it was Councilman Reed was stressing measurables. And unfortunately, the economic development director was not able to provide those measurables. Well, that's fine, but there needs to be at least quarterly updates, and to put pressure on the director to have measurables, to be able to report his goals, to report his accomplishments. The director had great, grand ideas, which is good for the city, but yet there needs to be an attention to the detail, an attention to the efficiencies of the economic development division. It's CBAC's opinion that in order to accomplish those grand ideas, you need to make sure that you're working efficiently. Business diversity within the economic development was also a recommendation. If you drive around town, you see the same type of businesses throughout the city. There needs to be a study on what type of businesses are currently within, and then a plan to diversify those businesses. And then we also suggest that the Economic Development Division collaborate with universities. There are tons of New Jersey universities and community colleges with economic and business development studies, and there's students who would love an opportunity to work at Plainfield and who have a unique set of skills who could help the director of economic development. That way, while the administrative day-to-day activities could be done by the secretarial assistant, some of the more complex matters could be done by those student interns. Recommendations regarding the office of the mayor. CBAC recommends that the position of chief of staff be eliminated. And there's two types of concerns that CBAC has. One is the budgetary concern. The chief of staff has a salary of $80,000 plus employee benefits. This position never existed before, and its reported responsibility seems to be the redundancy between the city administrator and the various divisions and agencies. CBAC feels the duties of it isn't clear what unique job the chief of staff adds to the city of Plainfield. The city council must be strict with the motto that employees and divisions must prove themselves first before an increased budget. The CBAC was unconclusive on what value the chief of staff adds. And then there's also political concerns. The city residents voted for Adrian Mapp as mayor. The city expects Mayor Mapp to make the decisions that affects this city. The description of chief of staff created a big concern that an unelected person would have an influence over the day-to-day activities of the city. What oversight is there that the chief of staff's decisions fairly represents Mayor Mapp's decisions? What checks and balances are in place to ensure the public that the chief of staff will not abuse his power while the mayor is unavailable? This is a bad precedent to take, which could have ramifications for decades if this position is created. In essence, Plainfield would have an unelected pseudo-mayor in power under the chief of staff position. Further development of this position is greatly needed before implementing. And I also note that during the budget hearing, there was an absence of a proper representative of the office of mayor to explain in more detail the role of chief of staff. And we felt that that was improper, especially given the enlarged budget increase. And lastly, universal recommendations. CBAC recommends that the city look into hiring a grant writer, a full-time grant writer whose sole responsibility is overseeing and searching for and applying for all available grants available to the various divisions agencies. Relying on each division to apply for a grant is too segmented and too dependent on a particular division personnel. I'm sure they're all working hard, but if a personnel has an employee who has grant writing experience versus a division who doesn't have anyone like that, there's an unequal balance to that. CBAC recommends a study on the merit of each division's outside consulting fees. It appears that many divisions hire outside consultants. While this may be necessary, in some cases it is not necessary in all cases. Some of these responsibilities can be handled by the specific agency, and if not, the director should be forced to explain why. Outside consultants should only be used as a necessity, not simply used to reduce the workload of certain agencies. Mandatory write-ups within the budget binder that I showed earlier, some divisions had write-ups expressing their goals for the future year and their accomplishments for the prior year, but not all agencies and divisions had those write-ups. The CBAC recommends that the council make those write-ups mandatory so that there's an easy way to review the accomplishments and the goals of each division on a yearly basis. And the last is transparency. The budget book, which is quite heavy, is in paper form, but it should be available online to the public to increase transparency and accountability. Information like this should be accessible and not hard to find for those looking for it. So with that said, CBAC thanks you for the opportunity, and hopefully hopes that the council and the city administration takes our recommendations to heart. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great. Okay. Now we have recommendations from the budget consultants.
Good evening, Madam President and members of the City Council.
Good evening.
I'm Ken Roberts. I'm with Government Strategy Group, and with me this evening is Larry Caraselli, Managing Director of Government Strategy Group. We've reviewed the budget that's being presented before you in thorough detail.
Do we have a copy of what you guys' recommendations?
Surely. Yes. The present budget provides for an increase of 2.74% in the amount to be raised by taxation, which will represent approximately an $80 increase to the average homeowner. $129, sorry. Sorry. The present budget increases taxes by $129 for the average resident. It contains a decrease in appropriations of $1.5 million and a decrease in revenues of $2.7 million. What I would like to point out, and this is...
They can't hear you.
Okay. One of the weird things about New Jersey budgeting is that they require you to include grants in your budget. So while it looks like expenses are being reduced, that represents a decrease in grant funding with an offset decrease on the revenue side. If you were actually look at your operating expenses in your budget, which are the appropriations within the appropriations cap, those are up approximately $2 million over last year. So what we've have come to the conclusion of, we've gone through the budget in detail. We have a list of recommendations that we believe, if implemented, would provide for a very fiscally sound budget and be very prudent for establishing your future financial planning. We have some specific recommendations with respect to the budget and then some overall financial recommendations.
Thank you, Madam President. Many of the recommendations that, well, one of the first recommendations that we would make would be to reduce the amount of surplus that's being utilized in balancing this budget. I believe the percentage is approximately 87% being used to balance this budget. It would be $4.9 million versus $2.9 million that was used in 2013's budget. In these economic times, it's wiser to maintain a rainy day fund as opposed to utilizing it to balance each respective budget. You'd be left with about $700,000 of surplus. There was $5.6 million left at the end of 2013. You'd be leaving yourselves with only about $700,000. We would recommend that you reduce the amount of surplus that's utilized in balancing this budget by $1 million. That would require...
Wait, excuse me. You said at the end of 2013, how much surplus did we have?
There was $5.6 million in round numbers.
And if we pass this budget, how much surplus we'll have left?
$700,000. So to reduce that $4.9 million to $3.9 million, you would then leave yourselves with $1.7 million, okay, for future utilization. And then there wouldn't be as much of a concern in replenishing the $5.6 million that you finished 2013 with. You know, in order to use that surplus, it's a one-time benefit to the budget. We've heard many times in, the state level, the state gets criticized for using one-shot revenues, one-time revenues. This is a one-time revenue because there's no guarantee that you're going to replenish the $5.6 million. So that would be the first major recommendation that we would make. To do that, there would then be a requirement to reduce appropriations. There was a notification from the state to reduce your police and fire and public employee retirement system appropriations. Those amounts total $431,000 in round numbers, maybe $432,000. We would also recommend that you reduce your other insurance premiums. The 2014 budget has, I believe it to be $2,826,000 budgeted. In 2013, there was a $450,000 transfer that was made, and there was still a balance of $214,000 left. So we're recommending that you reduce the 2014 appropriation for other insurance by $400,000, which I believe would still be greater than the appropriation in 2013. We would also recommend reducing the unemployment insurance appropriation. The review of the 2013 financial statement showed a significant balance in the trust fund for unemployment insurance, and the same with workers' compensation insurance. Our recommendation would be to reduce those two appropriations by $100,000 each. The salary categories, we would recommend eliminating all new positions except for, I believe it to be the recreation supervisor. The majority, well, not the majority, but probably about half of the positions are vacant that have been recommended as new positions. In these economic times, it doesn't make sense to add positions to the staff complement, especially when you'd be utilizing 87% of your surplus with not necessarily a guarantee that you're going to replenish the surplus that you'd be utilizing. So that eliminating those positions would equate to about $450,000 in reductions. There are also increases that the administration had requested. I believe it to be increase the recreation other expense by $20,000, increase the engineering other expense by $112,000 for DEP fees, I believe it is, and to increase the municipal court other expenses for bank fees. I think it related to credit card fees, things of that nature, and that was $10,000. The net effect of these appropriation changes amount to $1,400,723. So those reductions, coupled with the decrease in surplus that would be utilized, would result in a net reduction to taxes of $400,723. And basically what that would result in is what Ken had mentioned before. The average homeowner would then have a tax increase of approximately, I believe it to be, yes, $93, as opposed to the $129 that is currently proposed.
So, there was a question that was asked at the last budget meeting that I attended, and the question was that the budget last year, this budget came in lower.
As Ken had mentioned previously, one of the inconsistencies, I guess, is maybe a proper term, in the state of New Jersey and the municipal budget process is to include grants in the actual introduced budget. The 2013 budget includes grants that had been awarded of, I think it's $2.1 million. Yes, all right, I'm sorry, $2,789,000. The 2014 budget in its current state has $89,000 worth of grants included in it. Now, that's because of the fact that you cannot include a grant in the introduced budget unless you have had approval from the state of New Jersey. So it's not that you've had $2.8 million of grants eliminated from the city of Plainfield. There are timing issues. You know, the grants may not be awarded yet. The current grant may, there are fiscal years. It might be from a June 1st to May 31st or July 1 to June 30th timeframe. Those grants, more than likely, will be added into the budget, okay, as I'm sure the administration comes to the council during the year to ask for the insertion of a grant item that you received approval on. It's commonly referred to as a Chapter 159. But the $2.8 million of grants in the 2013 budget versus the $80,000 of grants in the 2014 budget means that the total expenditures for city purposes are actually going up. And I made a calculation of that, and if you remove the grants as a categorical item, the 2014 budget would be $74.9 million versus $73.8 million in 2013, or a $1.1 million increase, or in percentage terms, 1.5%.
And then when you add to that $1.1 million increase that Larry just mentioned, one other item that was significantly decreased in the 2014 budget is a line item called the Reserve for Uncollected Taxes. As you're aware, you have to pay 100% of the property tax levy to the school district and to the county. You don't collect 100%, so you build in a reserve. Generally, the excess tax collections from that reserve end up going to help regenerate surplus at the end of the year. In the 2014 budget, the proposal is to reduce the reserve for uncollected taxes by an additional $810,000. So when you look at the budget on surface, it looks like there's a significant reduction in expenses, but when you peel back the layers and look at the increase in operations and the decrease in reserve for uncollected taxes, operating expenses are actually up about $2 million.
So, the end result, if our recommendations were in fact to be implemented, the end result would be, as I said earlier, an average increase of $92 to the taxpayers, assuming a $113,000 assessed value piece of property. The tax levy would go down from the amount that's included in here to $53,191,882.86 for municipal purposes.
Any questions from the council?
Yes. Just a couple. I have a question in particular about there are some some new hires. I'll say that, but actually I was concerned about this line, reduce health, the health division salary and wages by $75,000, but then increase the operating expenses by $75,000. Can you explain why you think the health division needs to have its salary and wages reduced?
My understanding from the last budget hearing of the Finance Committee was that the health division was not going to be able to hire a health officer in time to be able to.
That's actually on our agenda for tonight.
Oh, well. But in any event, the recommendation to, if possible, continue the month-to-month relationship with the county in contracting with the county's health officer. I can finish because there is an explanation. If the health officer was in fact hired, then there is a mechanism in the budget process to title and text monies from the other expense portion of the budget into the salary portion of the budget. So it would not be tying the hands of the council or tying the hands of the administration. It would just require another step in amending the budget via a title and text.
Thank you. Any more questions, Councilwoman Williams? No, I'm good. Councilwoman Ryan?
Could you just repeat the budget in the way it is now? What would be the increase for citizens' tax bill?
It's currently structured at $129.37 in its introduced state.
And with your recommendation, what is it you said?
It would go down to $92.54. Basically a reduction of a little over $400,000.
Yes, I'd like to thank both of these reports we received tonight. The Citizen Advisory Report was the best one in 6 years I've been setting up here that I've ever received. Good recommendations. And what you're suggesting would make an increase of approximately $7 70 cents per month on each homeowner, if that is accepted, as you stated. The elimination of these various positions, the chief of staff, the special counsel, the media person, community relations, the deputy city administrator, and some people out of planning, and the recreation specialist, and the police director, to me, is some pretty good suggestions. That's about $500,000 we save there. In this time that we're in economically in the city of Plainfield and all over the country, I would imagine the rate of what we get our taxes from in the city has gone down, as I understand it. And in fact, it's shifted from commercial to homeowners. The administration recognized this because they are working to see if they can get some businesses in. However, I call the attention that we are not Watchung Square, Blue Star, that other shopping center over there. So those stores are anchored. We will never ever, in my personal opinion, get a major company to come here and open up a home office. We're going to have to rely upon the citizens that's here who are going down. We got a lot of units that are vacant in this city, and there's no revenue coming from those vacant units, supposedly. I said that I would not, as a member of this council, vote to increase the taxpayer's burden unnecessarily. The mayor has some great ideas, some beautiful things that's in his eyes that we can do to reverse this. I just think that we cannot spend money we don't have and place it on the taxpayers at this point. It's difficult on the people like myself who retired here, moved here, bought a beautiful home. The taxes are killing us. Every day I get people that say, don't raise taxes, we're paying too much now. If we had a good base, these ideas are great. A chief of staff to help, a police, 2 positions in the police department, understand that the police director for public safety will take both positions without any additional salary, so elimination of that money is good. I thank you for making these recommendations. We will consider each one, and we appreciate you looking at it from your point of view. You both have a lot of experience and understanding doing budgets with the state as well as other municipalities. And I urge my members to take this under consideration when we get down to the final day.
If we may have a few more minutes, if you don't mind, Ken would like to make a few more comments.
On the last page in the handout we gave you, there are some general financial recommendations that the city should consider, including evaluating, if it has not been done so, reviewing your outstanding debt for potential refunding and refinancing opportunities. You have some old capital improvement authorization ordinances on your books that could be reviewed and canceled. Those funds could be transferred to surplus. Review old grant balances. You have quite a few old grant balances sitting there that go back quite a few years. And you also have quite a significant amount of money of what's called unappropriated reserves. These are grant monies you received but have not appropriated. Some of those grants go back to 2005. And you also have a significant amount of money sitting in your urban enterprise zone grant fund that's been unappropriated.
That's $1 million.
That could be used for economic development purposes. You also have a significant amount of money in your trust fund deposits and reserves that also need to be reviewed.
Thank you so much.
Maybe I get my job.
Councilwoman Taylor?
Well, I'd like to really thank you to give us such a in-depth analysis, because we are always looking for ways to reduce monies and taxes for our residents, and we really thank you. And the other areas that you just mentioned about kind of going back and doing some housekeeping as to how we are using monies already not appropriate sitting there and that kind of thing, especially what you said about the surplus. I think that will be of significance to us when we make our decisions. Thank you very, very much. We really appreciate the fine tuning and helping us to make more informed decisions for our residents. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilwoman Greaves?
I want to say thank you so much for your report. This will give us an idea, a background of where we can begin to work, and hopefully we can come to a conclusion that will help both the administration and the city and the residents. Thank you.
And I also would like to say thank you for your report. I mean, it has had some great enlightenment on some of the decisions that we as a governing body need to take seriously about this budget and what surplus we had and what we're being left with. But you made a statement that it's a possibility that our surplus would be replenished.
Basically, in each year, the goal is to replenish the surplus that has been utilized to balance the budget. In 2013, that was accomplished, and it was actually increased over what was utilized in 2013's budget year. Increasing the year-end surplus to, as I said before, $5.6 million. However, just because it's there doesn't mean you should use the majority of it. We're recommending that you utilize about 69% of it as opposed to 87% of it. And then during the course of the year, as a result of revenues coming in over what is anticipated, maybe, last year's budget appropriations that will lapse, hopefully they'll increase the surplus as well. If revenues come in greater than what's anticipated, then, you'll replenish. It'll be easier to replenish the $3.9 million as opposed to replenishing the $4.9 million that you used.
And to the CVAC committee, I would like to thank you guys, and I take your constructive criticism to heart. I'm one of the council members that did not attend all of the budget sessions, so thank you.
Excuse me, Council President.
To Mr. Bernie, welcome, Councilman Bernie. Good to see you.
Good seeing you too.
I haven't seen you in a while. It's really good to see you, and keep coming. Keep coming back. You sat on the council for a very long time, so your wisdom to the CVAC it really helped.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Excuse me, Council President. With your permission, I would like to tell you that the Director of Finance or the CFO will like the opportunity to respond to a few things, but also to ask a question of the budget consultants pertaining to surplus. But I also want to tell you that the administration will have a response to a lot of what we've heard here this evening, and we will present you with the facts, we will present you with the basis upon which the budget was constructed, and we hope that you will not be guided by some of the considerations that went into what you heard from the consultants this evening, but that first and foremost, you will put the interest of the city first and the desire to move this city to a different level. And so we hope that that would be a consideration that you would give. So at this time, I would like you to give the opportunity.
With all due respect, he can put that in writing, and so that the whole community can get a copy of, what you're putting in writing, because I'm sure it'll be on the internet. So with time, just to move forward, we've heard your presentation, we've heard the administration's presentation.
I didn't do a presentation.
I'm sorry, we've heard the administration, you didn't come, I forgot. We heard the administration's presentation, and we just heard from the budget consultant, and we heard from the CVAC. I would like to move on with the agenda.
We have a question on surplus that's important. You need to know. It's important.
I make a motion to allow the administration to answer that, to discuss that question.
Call for the vote.
Second?
You don't need a vote.
Well, actually, I would just put it as a question. I would like to ask Mr. West, I have a question for him. Could you please answer the question regarding the surplus?
Moving right along,
That's a
as I
question.
stated, to the administration, to the mayor, this is a council's meeting.
Right, yeah, that's
So
what I was,
as
as
the
a
majority
councilwoman,
of
I
the
have a
council would like
question.
to move on
I have a
with
question,
the meeting.
but I have a question.
Well, you should,
This
you
is the
along with
problem.
myself did not come to any budget meetings.
No,
Any
are you
questions?
kidding me? I was at 4 of the 6 budget meetings.
Well,
The
you
other
can come to all of
2,
them, so any
the
questions
other
that
2,
you
I
had,
was teaching a class at night. I wasn't goofing around, but I think that with all due respect, that I asked, as a council person, I asked the question regarding this surplus thing, so I would like a response.
okay, moving right along, we're at unfinished business.
Yes.
Public comments are limited to resolutions and
I would
ordinance being
like to-
considered this evening. Because,
Point of order?
There's a public hearing on the introduced budget. Before it has to be open, there has to be a public hearing on the introduced budget.
now we're moving along to public hearing on the introduced budget as advertised.
Please ask about the surplus.
As a resident, Ron West, 5 Brook Lane, Plainfield, New Jersey, I'd like to ask the consultants how much surplus was used in the 2013 budget.
That information is available to you, Mr. West.
Don't go back and forth.
I will tell you what it is.
I think you know.
I absolutely do. There was 2.9 million used out of $3,346,987.64. What was remaining was $446,987.64. The other thing, as a citizen, that I would like to know and understand, last week, this consulting body said that the budget put together was reasonable, and in light of what we were trying to accomplish as a city, more than responsible. Today, what do I see? He eliminates the Deputy Administrator for Economic Development, a job that he indicated was extremely important in the success of this city. So I don't know what's transpired in less than a week, but there's a lot that was presented today that makes no sense to me.
Mr. West, this is the council's budget. We will take all those under consideration.
I spoke as a citizen.
It's only a recommendation, sir.
I only spoke as a
Councilman
citizen.
Reed, he spoke as a citizen. Is there any, and I'm sorry, Councilwoman Williams, he spoke as a citizen. He said what he had to say. Moving on to the next citizen that have any questions on this, on the budget.
Alan Goldstein, 939 Madison Avenue. I haven't been through this budget as closely as I was when I was on the CBAC some years ago, but I've looked over some of these budgets. I know that we spent a lot of money over the years on deadbeats. And I mean people who didn't do their work here in the City Hall, in economic development. There was nothing going on. I know that we got a full sergeant sitting out there at City Hall guarding the sign-in book. I presume he's making a good $85,000, $90,000 by now, if not more, plus benefits. What's that all about? I think in this budget, although I may be incorrect, maybe someone who's got the budget can clarify this point, but because the city, the previous administration, welched on money that they were supposed to pay PMUA, PMUA just reduced the amount of money they were paying for the sewer lease, so that we budgeted an amount that may be $200,000-300,000 less than what is actually owed to the city, because they came in with a figure that was less last time, and we can't budget a figure that is greater, but is actually the figure that is owed. And all I've got to say is that as much as I have questions going forward as to what the potential for growth in this city is, we know that we need ratables. I mean, every municipality talks about that. And we know that we need people minding the shop, putting out the word, getting the newspapers to write about us, you know, in a good way, not because there's some murder or something going on. And I think that some of you are willing to just cut away all that ability to do that. Now, I'm not saying that you increase it this much this year and then you increase it that much the next year and so on and so forth. But I think that there needs to be ample time to make some kind of progress along some of these economic development lines and in certain respects in community development in general. And I think if we're just going to look at our nose only 2 inches in front of our face, you're going to get rid of any opportunity to make any kind of progress. And I've seen this, you know, for 4 months now. I've seen a constant inability to deal with important issues. We talk about stuff like Legal Shield for months and months and months, and you should have been talking about Liberty Village. You know, I think you know, if you want to get the people out here, then you got to accomplish something. And all I see is a lack of accomplishment, year in and year out. Thank you.
Dan Damon, 661 West 7th Street. I really just have a question because the last few minutes with the presentations both by the CBAC and by the consultants are probably way beyond the public's ability to understand or grasp what's being discussed. Will all of this be put on the city's website ASAP? And if the administration has a desire to comment on the consultant's report or the CBAC's report, will they be putting their comments on the website? So we'll have some time to look this over before you guys will be making your decision on this.
I agree with you 100%. That's the point that I was trying to make, that this information is readily available to be put on the website. The CVAC's information, the budget consultant's information, and any response that the administration have can be put on the website for review. We don't need to take up more of the citizens' time tonight to go back and forth bickering over a budget. The administration had a chance to present their budget. We allowed it, we accepted it. CVAC had a chance to give their feedback. We allowed it, we accepted it. The budget consultants whom are being paid had their chance to give their feedback. We allowed it, we accepted it. There's no need for council members, administration, or anyone to get upset, because when you start getting upset, it starts to make me wonder what is the underline behind it. Because as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're validating everything and every expense in this budget that's going to represent the city of Plainfield, as you see I am right now, you're calm. There's no need. There's no need to get upset.
We fully intend to put all those things on the website, but we also think that some of those things probably need a little more dialogue. I mean, it's hard to interact with the website, the consultant, CISPAC. We can put in our questions, but right now, given the opportunity,
there is going to
we're likely to consider.
In previous years, in the last 2 years, the same thing. We received the budget from the administration. We received the input from the CBAC. We received the information from the budget consultants, who's not here this year. We, the council, accepted it, made our recommendations, and brought them forth. There was no back and forth. Let's move on. so that we can get through this agenda. I'm sure the administration is competent enough to put the response from the budget consultant on the website as you do. And you made a valid point, Mr. West. You said last week our budget consultant stated that it was a sound budget.
Excuse me, he said it was a responsible budget.
Yes, a responsible, sound budget.
And it's a responsible budget that we
And he
would
just
like to
presented
discuss.
that he's also made amendments and his budget is responsible. So let us take that into consideration, the council.
Well,
Let the administration
that was certainly
respond.
his opinion of our submission. Our response to his is not
That's
the
okay.
same.
You're gonna have
We
your
are not.
opportunity. You're gonna have your opportunity to respond. The citizens will be aware of your response. This is only recommendations. You understand? This is not nothing that's solid. It's recommendations. It's ultimately up to the governing body, along with the administration.
Thank you,
Do
Council
you think
President.
that this governing body will hurt the citizens of the city of Plainfield?
It's my deepest hope not.
That's how laughable
Do
it
you
is.
think that the citizens of this governing body would hurt the citizens of Plainfield? No. Well, a select few might say yes, but the entire city of Plainfield might not. Thank you, Dick, thank you. Yes.
Bernice Pagley, 120 Street. I believe I heard, and I verified that at one of the meetings, the $129 was reduced to 101, which is pretty close to the figure that the consultant mentioned. Very close. So I hope that comes out in the wash wherever you
Right.
take a wash.
Thank you, Ms. Catherine. Thank you.
Jesus have his mercy.
Rashid Abdul-Wahab,
Good evening.
1272 Park. I just wanted to say that I've had dialogue with Mr. Carlos Sanchez, and I was impressed by some of the things that he told me. And I've talked to people that work for the state in economics, and they're from Plainfield. And he spoke very highly of Mr. Sanchez. They said they worked with him when he was in Elizabeth, and they were impressed. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Dunn, 537 Belvedere Avenue, Plainfield, New Jersey.
Good evening.
Good evening. First, I want to say, Council, I think we have quite a bit of information to digest. And we have the administration budget. We have the citizens who did an excellent job.
Yes, they
And
did.
I want to say thank you for your dedication. Because it took a lot of time. And no one should take it for granted. And consultants, you really broke it down. But really, the situation is when we compare everything, apples to apples and orange to oranges, we will see what the real budget should be. And we should have the input of the citizens to contribute, to help us make a decision. It should not be political. It should be for the best interest of the city. Some people think that it's about the city in one section, but it's the entire city. We have a city that goes from one end to the other. There are those who are very well off, and there are those who are having challenges. And we need to take it all in consideration. But we got to put all this stuff aside. It's not about the new Democrats or the other Democrats. It's about Plainfield. Let's put this stuff aside. We're wasting too much money and too much time on politics that really are small in comparison to the bigger picture. If we have a surplus, we should not spend it on people just for this year. Let's act like we know what's happening. Let's put some money aside. Let's basically be responsible in our spending, and let's do what we need to do. I ask that there be some type of collaboration of the various nonprofits in regard to grant writing. You have the YMCA, the YWCA, you have the Plainfield Health Center, you have the housing. You have all these major nonprofit organizations with really great grant writers. Why don't we bring them all together with the city to enhance our opportunity as a city that can really go forth in a big way? I make that suggestion. That's not political. That's really tying into what the consultant said in reference to enhancing our revenue with grants. See, when we have all these various resources, we have all these various collaborations, that gives us a greater opportunity to go after bigger pots. Not just little small things, but the much bigger things that can do things in a greater way, in a bigger way. I believe in Plainfield. I haven't been in Plainfield for 40 years. I spend my time, not just in reference to my business, but also in reference to this community. And I believe there's a lot of people in here who really want to do the same thing. Let's put them to work. Thank you very much.
Let's do that because I have to put the microphone to the floor. Floor for 10 Washington Avenue. I always come to these concert meetings lately, and I really wonder where you have been the last couple of years when the mayor was having a bodyguards and spending $300,000 for bodyguards, assistants, and here and there, and more assistants. The budget never was taken in consideration, and nobody had talking about if we are on debt from the past administration and now this administration had to pay for the debt from the past administration, or if we were doing this to start doing what? Paying what we owe, or just progress. And I wanted this concept to work with the administration. If in 6 months and a year, well, I guess I have to say in a year, because we already are in May and you're talking about the budget. So I think we cannot say 6 months. And if in a year we don't see the administration work with all the recommendations that they do, then we should change it. You give the past administration 8 years. And I want to know what changes that administration make in the budget that they use, and the monies and the millions that they spend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just pull it up. Just pull it up. Yeah, just pull it up. Thank you.
comment being made. If we don't think that we're worthy of an anchor store, then watch Warren, they should be stopping us every time we go over. Because we don't have enough self-esteem and self-respect for ourselves. So when we crossing over, going into their stores, they're not gonna have it either. So we have to show them we can do the same thing we can do.
Can I say,
May I just say something? Yes, I just said that it's corporations, AT&T, those big places are not gonna come here. Okay? That's all I meant. They're not.
Okay.
Maybe they will.
Thank you for the comment.
Okay.
Maybe they will. Who knows?
Any more on the budget hearing? Any more comments on the budget hearing?
Let's go home. We haven't done the resolution yet.
Good evening, Mayor, council people, and citizens of Plainfield. My name is Lillian Jamar, 135 Carlisle Terrace. I'm here in support of the mayor, and I'm supporting him because the assemblyman put his name on the line. The money didn't put him in office. The citizens of Plainfield did. And they put him in office because they thought he could do the job. But if he does not get the support of all the people on the council, he can't do his job. And I am for him, and I think that the people ought to know who knocks him and who helps him, because he's trying. If he fails, let him fail on his own. Don't you be a part of it. And I will not support anyone who knocks him. And that's how I feel, and that's how a lot of other people feel also. And I also want to know, all this time, people have asked you about that building on Terrell Road and Edwin Place. Nobody has done anything. This man was supposed to be putting storage space upstairs. He's putting an apartment up there. And the people don't want all that parking on their street. They had a place across in Scotch Plains and they fought that. So finally it's gone. But now they got to deal with this man. And I want to know what you're going to do about it. And I'm asking you a second time to give the man, the mayor, a chance to do his job. Thank you.
On the budget? Motion to close?
Yes, motion to close the budget hearing.
Can I get a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay.
The next public, but you do have public comment limited to resolutions and ordinance being considered this evening.
The floor is now open for public comments limited to ordinances and resolutions for this evening. The floor is open.
Hello again.
Yes.
Now the vote's 9:30 North Madison Avenue. Just a quickie about these festivals. I went through the package in the library, and I see that the requested date for the July festival is the 4th, 5th, and the 6th. And then I see them here on the resolution that you've got the rain dates in here. So I'd like to get some kind of clarification as to whether it is actually the 4th, 5th, and 6th, or it's the 11th, 12th, and 13th. Because the application says very specifically that it's the 4th, 5th, and 6th. Secondly, I'd just like to comment about these festivals generally, although I have no problem with that. But I don't think it's very good for, you know, the nearby residents to be having to put up with 3 days of fun and music, whatever else comes its way.
Nice.
I don't think that having competing festivals across the street from each other is necessarily a good thing. And I would hope that Mr. Garcia and Mr. Marie in the future might be able to kind of pool their assets, have one festival on one particular date, or maybe share it on both dates rather than fighting one another across Watchung Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Here again, from Rosales, 14 Watchman Avenue. I'm going to talk about the festivals. The the Latin American Coalition was founded again in 1995 and became 501c3 in 1996. We start the Hispanic Heritage Festivals that I have many papers and books and folders and flyers and everything that I can give to you. And the Hispanic Heritage Festival, it is part of the Latin American Coalition that has been in the city of Plainfield for so long, and that we have made a lot of difference in this town. Everyone that participates in the Hispanic Heritage Festival are members of our community. We never deal with alcohol. We never rented tables, $1,000 of food or whatever. And I consider that this resolution talking about a person is doing the third annual Hispanic Heritage Festival is wrong. This is not LAC. LAC is prepared to bring the papers for the Hispanic Heritage Festival for this year. Whoever put this number here is not belong here, because we're working very hard, there are members, and we have been in this community for too long to allow somebody from the outside to come and take over our festival. And lately, I will say that I have no problem to work with anyone to do a big festival, but we don't want nobody to come again from the outside, take what belongs to us. That's what has happened many times. People from the outside come and use us. Well, this time, I believe that this is gonna happen. And if anyone want to do a festival, yes, we can all get together and do a big festival, but the only problem that the Latin American Coalition has is that we do not support alcohol in festivals.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Jeff Murray, 513 Elizabeth Avenue, Sunshine, New Jersey. Thank you. I'm actually here because I put in an application January 2nd, which included the Parade Festival 2014, on September 12th, 13th, and 14th. And I just wanted to make it clear, is that included in this? Because that application was with this, my submission for the September 12th, 13th, and 14th, culminating in the first Hispanic Heritage Festival and Parade. And that was handed in on the 2nd of January. And actually, we have people in other countries already making costumes and so many different things that are being already done in regards to this. And it's been so long. And I know the city is, there's so much going on with the city, and the festival is a very small thing, considering, everything that's happening with the city. But I'm just requesting any information in regards to our submission.
Is that all your questions, Mr. Murray?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Council President, under correspondence and other petitions, it is noted Mr. Murray's request for a street and sidewalk encroachment is up for consideration. Could be voted on at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Any more for privilege of the floor?
Seeing none, I recommend that we close the public hearing.
So moved. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Good evening again, everyone. Consideration of a public hearing, second reading and final passage is item 7 on our agenda, and is regarding the ordinances that we have to consider. First, I call up MC 2014-08, which is an ordinance to reallocate funds from prior funded capital ordinances and cancel out by resolution 125-14. And question is, should I have that on the agenda for the next meeting on the vote?
Yes.
Okay. MC 2014-09, which is an ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 6, which is buildings, Article 2, property maintenance, to add Section 7, abatement of nuisance, and Section 8, certification of prior to adoption of a resolution. Any comments from the council members? Should I add it to the resolution?
Yes.
MC 2014-10, which is an ordinance to accept the report of the Plainfield Chapter Study Commission and forwarding to the New Jersey State Legislative Body for action. Any comments? Okay. Item 8 on tonight's agenda is resolutions and new business as legislative body. Item A, councilmatic resolution authorizing the planning board to study inactive redevelopment plans and make recommendations back to the governing body. Any questions or problems with that resolution? Should I add it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item B, councilmatic resolution recognizing Bishop Jessica E. Walker on her contributions to the New Vision Ministry and the Plainfield community, introduced by Council President Bridget Rivers. Do I have any problems with that resolution and adding it to our agenda?
No.
Okay. Item C, councilmatic resolution conveying condolences to the family of Janet Peterson Freeman. And this is introduced by Councilwoman Vera Reed. Do I have any problems?
No.
Should I, it's on the
Yes.
agenda?
Yes.
Okay. D, councilmatic resolution recognizing Alice Logie on 50 years of dedicated service to the Plainfield League of Women Voters. This is introduced by Councilwoman Rebecca Williams.
Yes.
Any problem? Thank you.
No problem.
On the administration and executive.
Then we have the street encroachments to be added to the agenda.
Okay. Let's go to the street encroachments. We have the one for Plainfield Public Library, which requests approval to use the library park to conduct an outdoor Latin dance concert cultural fair on Saturday, June 12, 2014, to take place from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Any objection to adding that to the agenda? Thank you.
No.
We have a second one, correspondence that says that Mr. Edison Garcia requests permission from the governing body for street and sidewalk encroachments to conduct the annual outdoor festival days celebrating independence of the United States on July 11th through July 13th.
Yes.
Okay, any problems? Okay, the next one is also from Mr. Edison Garcia, requested permission for a street and sidewalk encroachment to conduct the 6th annual outdoor festival days celebrating the independence of Central America and the closure of the city-owned parking lots 8 and 8A on September 12, 13, and 14. Should I put that on the agenda for next week?
Yes.
Thank you. Also from the Marie Group and the Volunteer Production. Is that correct? Anyway, they want to have sidewalk and encroachments to conduct the Hispanic Heritage Festival. And it requires the closure of the city-owned parking lot number 1. Is that correct? That's correct. Thank you. On September 12th, September 13th, and September 14th. Do we have any objection to adding that to the agenda for next week? And finally, the Supremo Food Market is requesting permission for a street and sidewalk encroachment to conduct a health fair and request the closure of the city-owned parking lot located at block 318, lot 4 on Sunday, June 29, 2014. Any problems with adding that to the agenda?
No.
Any questions? Continuing. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, under, there was an addendum, there was also a request from the Special Improvement District for the car, bike, and truck show. And that's in June, July, and in August.
Okay, it's a request from whom again?
Special Improvement District.
Special Improvement District, y'all know that. It's an addendum to the agenda. They would like to conduct the Plainfield Car, Bike, and Truck Show on Thursday, June 12th of 2014, Saturday, June 28th as well, Thursday, July 17th, and Friday, August 22nd, which will require closure of East Front Street between Watchung and Park Avenue. Do I have any problems in adding that to the agenda, fellow council people?
No.
Thank you. Is that it?
Yes.
Continuing, administration and executive branch, congratulations, I have none. Corporation Council, we did have some from you, correct?
No, Mr. Chairman, we have no items.
Thank you. Boy, that's good. Item E, Department of Administration and Finance, a resolution authorizing a residency waiver to Dennis L. Proctor.
Denise.
Yeah, that is Denise.
Yeah, put it on.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Proctor. Denise L. Proctor to serve as health officers for the city of Plainfield. And that is requesting a waiver to accept this job. And I'm not familiar with Ms. Proctor. Any questions from any of my council members on this item? And should we put it on the resolution for consideration for voting next week?
No. Yes, yes. No.
Okay, let's call the roll, please, Mr. Clerk.
Surely. Council members Brown,
Yes.
Reeves,
No.
Taylor,
No.
Williams,
Yes.
Chairman Reed,
No.
Council President Rose.
No.
Okay, that will not be on the resolution. I mean, on the voting agenda for next week. Item F, resolution authorizing 10 refunds due to overpayment in taxes as per the attached schedule totaling $26,572.97. Any
Yes.
questions? Yes? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Item G, resolution authorizing 3 refunds due to state tax appeals totaling $8,048.03. Any problem? Okay,
No problem.
questions? It's on the agenda for next week. Item H, resolution authorizing cancellation and refund of tax sale certificates 06-210 purchase on block 532, lot 18.03 in the amount of $139.69.
Yes.
Any problems? None from nobody, it's on the agenda. Resolution approving authorization for the acceptance of bids received by the tax collector
on the assignment sale of 14 municipal health tax sale certificates in the amount of $617,728.22. Any problems with that or questions?
No problems.
Okay, that's on the agenda. Resolution under J, which authorizes the approval of the City of Plainfield to enter into an interlocal agreement with the National Cooperative Entity for the purposes of purchasing equipment pursuant to the New Jersey Law 52:34-6.2. Any questions at this point with respect to this? Okay. Item K, that'll be on the agenda. Item K, resolution authorizing the City of Plainfield to enter into contracts with the certain state-approved vendors for contracting units pursuant to 40A:11 through 12A for computer equipment. Any?
No questions.
Okay. Item L, resolution authorizing the City of Plainfield to enter into contracts with certain state-approved vendors for contracting units pursuant to 40A:11-12A for office supplies.
Yes.
Any comments or questions? Thank you. That will be on the agenda as well. Now, let me see if I can go to the next one. Item M, resolution authorizing the City of Plainfield to enter into contracts with certain state-approved vendors for contracting units pursuant to 40A:11-12A for wireless supplies and equipment.
Yes.
Okay. Item N, that will be on the agenda. Item N, resolution authorizing the City of Plainfield to enter into contracts with certain state-approved vendors for contracting units pursuant to the same law, 40A:11 through 12A for public works equipment. Any problems? Okay. Resolution authorizes us, City of Plainfield, to enter into contracts with certain approved vendors for the contracting units pursuant to 40A:11 through 12A for police equipment.
Yes.
Okay. P, resolution authorizing the City of Plainfield to enter into contract again with approved vendors for contracting units for automotive equipment.
Yes.
Any problems? None. On the agenda. Q, resolution authorizing us, City of Plainfield, to enter into contracts with, again, state-approved vendors for contracting for fire equipment.
Yes.
R, resolution authorizing the purchase of food service.
Yes.
Various food vendors for bilingual daycare center pursuant to the same law and an amount not to exceed $60,000.
Yes.
Okay. Department of Public Affairs and Safety, none. That's great too. Now go to the Department of Public Works and Urban Development. Item S, resolution authorizing the approval of a fireworks agreement between the City of Plainfield and the Garden State Fireworks, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $12,000.
Yes.
Item T, resolution authorizing discharge of $4,242 in Community Development Comprehensive Housing Assistance Program loan made to the property located at 1209 Central Avenue.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
U, resolution authorizing a lien placement for cleanup of 3 properties totaling $743.46 and is per the attachment.
Yes.
That was introduction of ordinances on first reading. Guess what? We have none. Mr. President, I turn it back to you.
Thank you. Just wanted to go back to the waiver of the health officer. I had spoken to Mrs. Smiley earlier in reference to some concerns that I don't want to be on camera. So I can't say there's so much in reference to this position and the waiver. And that, I know we need a full-time health officer, but administration is aware of the concerns that I put forth to them.
Absolutely, Council President.
It was brought to my attention that there's some concerns that some members of the council have about the person that we will be putting in this role. And I made it very clear to members of staff that I have no concerns about the politics that may be involved in terms of how people feel about any member that we choose to consider to be a member of staff. I was fired from Roselle because of the political vindictiveness of individuals, and I will not allow that to affect or to influence who we choose to hire here in the city of Plainfield. And so I would hope that we will consider the right proctor that we presented and not the other proctor. And so that's all I want to say. We will not be influenced by outside political forces and pressure when it comes to putting the right people in the right positions. And the vindictive political climate that exists that prevent and get in the way of people who are qualified and who deserve opportunities, I will not, and no member of my administration will be influenced by those forces.
I just want to say, even though I voted yes for the health officer, we had a very good discussion with the council in reference to her qualifications, in reference to the residency waiver. And it was based on the facts. It was not based on anything political or anything vindictive.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Can I just want to reiterate the same issue. I don't know why, that was said, but we do have residency ordinances in our city, and we are very, very interested, as some of the residents have said, to bring back the perception and branding of our city. Those residency laws were put in place. You still can move into the city after a certain length of time. And I believe that that's still an ordinance. It is on the books. It is not something that we're just making up. It has nothing to do, from my perspective, except that I want to begin to look at Plainfield for Plainfielders. And I do believe there's a lot of talented people from outside of our city, but if we're really going to go into making and rebranding our city so that people see the same thing the young lady said, I believe it was Ms. Boone, that this is a place that you can come and raise your family and live and then serve. And while we accept new people, we're very inclusive, but at some point, you have to say, if it's good enough for you to make money, then it's good enough for you to live here. And I think in that spirit, that is why members of the council, some of us are really concerned, if we're really serious about moving our city back to the place that we call our beloved Plainfield. I am. And I believe that we need to begin to look at the ordinances that are already on the book, residency, particularly high positions of the administration or any other issue, but we have to be concerned. And that's why I am really interested in following the law and providing that kind of support for us, not to keep people out of our city, but welcome them and include them to come and join us and be a part of our community.
I just want to say that at our last meeting, the council granted a residency waiver for the person in community development. So this bloviating about, people living here, it just depends, I guess, on who they are. That said, I think that given what we heard at last week's budget hearing about the lack of a health officer here, the fact that out of what I think, a couple of few hundred establishments, very few were inspected, this could conceivably be a health crisis in our city. I went to a store, and this was last year, and there was outdated food on the shelves. I called it in, and somebody was able to go there. How many hundred, as many stores as we have here, as many communicable diseases that I'm hearing about, there are no health officers, as far as I know, who live in Plainfield right now. We need a health officer. I think that a health officer is, if we want to weigh things, maybe a little bit more important than granting a residency waiver for a community development person or whatever. I think that, if we have a good and qualified health officer who's, who would be able to work here, who maybe, I don't know, this person is an MD, I don't think so, but we need a health person here. Thank you.
Let's be clear, we do have a health officer. We're doing a shared services agreement with the health officer from the county right now. So let's not say that we don't have a health officer in place for Plainfield right now, because we do. Now, we do need a full-time health officer, but it is not vindictive of the council to not appoint this full-time health officer with a residency waiver. This full-time health officer, if really wants the job, can come to Plainfield and work. And if they do a good job, come back to the council. But I think to say that this is vindictive, here we go again. It's like, to me, if I don't get what I want, I'll start a name calling. It is not vindictive. It is not vindictive. Let's stop painting the council as being vindictive. All we want is what's right for Plainfield. And to say that we don't have a health officer, which the majority of the county, all of the council voted for a shared services agreement with the county for a health officer last year, except myself because I had to abstain. So we do have a health officer. So if there's a restaurant that has some outdated food, the health officer, call the health officer, call the health department. But what we really need, which the council really asked for during budget deliberations, is some health inspectors. But we do have a health officer in place right now.
Council President, just one rebuttal. There is somebody who comes in for 8 hours a week from the county. Again, what it has to do with is having someone full-time here who's supervising the health officers. Again, we have a mere fraction of our food establishments, retail, etc., that have been inspected. I just happened to notice that the dairy container that I had was outdated. And I'm not just talking about retail establishments. I'm talking about communicable diseases, shots, etc., those kinds of things. The health department is also in charge of the licensing of the dogs and cats and so forth. But the other comment that I made had to do with this idea of residency waivers. We just granted a residency waiver last week. I don't know what the difference is in the situation, but we did that. That was just my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Williams. Now we are privileged of the floor. Citizens' participation. Citizens are welcome to address the council on any governmental item of concern to them, whether or not it is scheduled on the above agenda. During this portion of the agenda, a total of 60 minutes have been allocated for all public comments to be presented. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name and address to the clerk for the record. The amount of discussion on any on any single subject, as well as the amount of time on any single speaker is allowed, will be limited to 5 minutes. Large groups are urged to select someone to represent them. See, Mr. Reba, I haven't seen you in the audience in a while. Welcome back.
Rashid Abdul-Haq, 1272 Park Avenue. Oh, I want to thank Rebecca Williams the last time I spoke for trying to come to my aid. Appreciate it. I definitely think the council, as I've said before, that we need to pass an ordinance that makes folks pull their pants up. And I want to state my belief that Jerry Green does not give the line to anyone running for council unless he thinks he can control that person. Now, I'm not saying he can control any person, but that's my belief. Recently, Mr. Green said he was responsible for bringing $1 million to Plainfield in a brochure that he put out. This $1 million to Plainfield that he brought was owed to Plainfield by the county for 10 years. Assemblyman Green has been assemblyman for more than 10 years. Why didn't he flex his muscles 10 years ago to bring that money to Plainfield? He answered his question on the next page of his brochure when he said he's always done what he was told to do by Charlotte DeFlippio. Jerry Green is admitting that people out of town are telling him what to do. And he definitely does what he's told to do by others outside of our town. He should be doing what the Democratic City Committee is telling him to do with the line. Enough said about Jerry. I need to be talking about how to create jobs and how to work with youth. Hopefully next council meeting I can talk about jobs and kids. Amen.
Thank you. Amen.
Harold Good, MD, 1353 Cushing Road. I saw it earlier this evening that the council has finally come to its senses, but this recent decision not to waive a residency requirement for a needed health officer, a position which has effectively been absent in this community for a year and a quarter, or a year and a third now, and 8 hours a week is not sufficient for any health officer in this community. And I'm surprised. This is a council which has tolerated out-of-city residency for various directors and department heads, including a director of public affairs who lived up for part of the time in northern New Jersey and then out of the state. and yet you do not question his residency requirements. It's untenable. You will be Councilwoman Breeze, Councilor Reed, Councilwoman Taylor, Council President Rivers. You will be responsible if we get an epidemic because of non-inspection of food stores, retail stores, and restaurants. Yes, we can get cholera, we can get hepatitis, they pop up every place periodically. But you are not even being reasonable by refusing to have a qualified health officer to fill a full-time position which this town desperately needs.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good
Norman
evening.
X. Johnson, 842 East Front Street, Plainfield.
Good evening.
While I respectfully respect the comments that Mr. Abdul Haq made, nevertheless, the United States of America, it's a democracy. The constituents in the city of Plainfield and the legislative district, the 22nd district, has spoken, and they have elected who they wanted to be in that position in leadership in the state of Assembly. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's an apology in order. I interrupted William, Councilman Reed, when he was talking. I didn't realize. But I just wanted to correct. There is in the agenda, the number lot is 4, but in my records, I think it's number 14. So I want to make sure that when you grant the permission that we are using the right lot. In my last year, we addressed it as number 14, but in the agenda today, you have number 4. So that's it. The thing that I wanted to clear up before I left. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council, Mayor.
Once again.
I do think we need to change the image of Plainfield. We have to do something about that. And again, I propose we do a week each month for humanity, where we show respect towards each other, courtesy, empathy, sympathy, everything. The businesses need to make sure that they clean in front of their doors, keep their windows clean as well. And hopefully our residents, now that the spring is here, people will get out and start cleaning more in front of their doors, look out for each other. They did a great job during the storm, but I would appreciate it if the police would come back and move the barricades on the corner of East Front and Leland, also on Netherwood and East Front Street. And the school, Central Jersey Art School there, there's barricades all the time in front of that school. I stopped there to find out why, because it's such a eyesore. And I spoke with the principal there, and he said that the city wouldn't allow the cars to come, which I could understand, but I'm saying, why can't they come in an orderly manner, you know, to pick up their children? So one of the parents suggested that maybe the buses, only the buses could come in front because they pick up the children earlier, and that would help with the traffic of the parents getting around through the cleaners there to pick up their children, because it looks terrible. My nieces go in Fanwood Scotch Plains, and their principals stand out each day and greet them to come in, and they go in an orderly manner. And I do understand that kids can't run across the street for their safety and the safety of the parents and the children, but something needs to be done. We can't have those, it's like 10 barricades all year long. We gotta look at that. It's terrible. Maybe, you know, and I spoke to, like I said, the principal. I said, well, the parents have to learn. We have to get where we could communicate, have better respect for each other. It makes no sense. But maybe that would help if they could line up just the buses, the school buses for the kids who ride the buses, and the parents can get through and they can move in a more, with more structure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Betty Miller, and I'm from 190 Berkeley Terrace. My subject's a little bit different, but I am Protestant chaplain for Reynolds Hospital. I'm a Bible school instructor. Okay, thank you. I have a prison ministry. I have a ministry with children of incarcerated. I do a holiday party every year for less fortunate. And I'm the director of one of the food banks in the community. Today, most of those titles are for children. And September 2013, I started with the school system trying to get a program called Good News Club. It's a club, it's all over the United States. It's in the communities, it's in North Plainfield, Piscataway, and I'm the representative for Plainfield. But I made an attempt to speak with the superintendent starting September. I wasn't able to talk to her until February. And then she gave me an appointment. I came to see her in March. She said, I'm gonna try to help you. I'm gonna try to do what I can because I see no reason why we can't have this Good News Club. So that was March. I haven't heard from her since then. I've tried several times calling. I know the secretary's sick of me, but you know, I said I'm gonna just keep calling until I get her, but I didn't. I still haven't gotten her. The Good News Club is a club to assist with developing good citizens for the children. It's a Good News Club. It meets after school for 1 hour. It frees the children. The Good News Club signs permissions from form to the parents before they even enter the club. The Good News Club's workers are all screened. It just goes on and on. It's just a club to enhance our children, to educate them, to teach them the ways to be good citizens. And this is one of my ministries, is to try to keep the kids from prison or whatever. I've done this for 50 years. My children are 50 years old. I started in my own house. I took the neighborhood kids. I lived in Broadway for 50 years and I did it there. I came to Plainfield and I've done it here. And I'm still trying to enhance the children here. This is what I'm trying to do here, but I'm seeming to have all kinds of situations and problems where I can't get the help that I'm looking for. That's one thing. The second reason is June 7th, we'll be sponsoring a Children's Day / a health fair for the children at Cedar Brook Park. And I'm asking the council or anybody else that can enhance me, help me with these kids. I just want to save the children, and I don't see anything wrong with that. You know, I think anybody, you know, should be able to help me do what I'm doing for, you know, this information here you can have is some of the principals actually tell you what their schools have done. Piscataway has it, like I said, North Plainfield, Boundbrook, all the schools in the area. But when I applied at Emerson School, the principal said no. The superintendent said she see no reason why. So this is what I'm trying to do tonight, to get your help to assist with the kids.
Can I respond to you, ma'am? I'm over here. Because it's very nice to hear people who are positive and want to do something positive in spite of the issues in our town right now. So I would like to speak with you, and I presently serve as the liaison to the school board. And I think that maybe we can kind of help facilitate that. And I thank you for doing this and being a self-starter, and hopefully we can use our resources to help you do this with us, and you won't have to feel that way. That we do want to see a positive change in our city, and particularly young people. So I'm a former educator as well, but I would definitely like to speak with you and see if I can facilitate your getting into with the board. And I know they mean well, but you know, everybody's busy with all their other agendas. So I would be more than willing to help you if you would like my assistance.
I would love your help.
I would definitely do that, and I'm so glad to hear you doing that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's a good news club. Don't forget my program June 7th, the health fair for the kids and the Children's Day.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council President, Council members, Corporation Council, Mayor, and members of the. My name is James Branch. I'm from address in Plainfield, 200 Barfield Avenue. Tonight I want to address a different issue. One thing, real quick, in regards to the health issue, I think we need a realistic assessment of what's going on with the community itself. It's not just the closing of a hospital, but as far as dealing with what clinics are available or accessible to people overall, needs to be determined. Something that, if somebody has a problem with here, where do they really go? And that's something that's, seriously missing in Plainfield. Today, in recognition of the 66th birthday year of the State of Israel, I want to read a line from the full-page ad in today's New York Times. It is the natural right of the Jewish people to be masters of their own state. And to be a child of God comes with understanding. For several reasons, the reality of what's wrong with the situation is the seal of the county of Union. Okay, this seal is being depicted as a robbery. A picture of a man, a soldier, shooting at a cabinet with a lady with her hands up. A system of robbery is what is not sustainable for our years. The real problem is that we did not join with the governor, and when he stated that the system was not working and was unsustainable. The real issue that's going on in our country is that the mayors have been going to jail. Mayor Nagin, Mayor Trenton, Mayor of Detroit, and there's a serious problem with the infrastructure of what's going on with our society. I place various paperwork from the legal staff of the United Nations, the IMF, and some other organizations that are seeking your position on the attitude of leadership within your community. Clarity, what they're seeking is clarity and understanding of the legalities of the 419 decree. However, as far as dealing with what's going on with the situation of are you respecting our ancestors and what was the promise to God made to the children of Israel and their children, we see that the main statement is deal with in God we trust. And as the alignment of goodness with our Creator, along with the benefits of seeing and hearing, I pray for peace, but we find that our system is keep pulling us back into war. So tonight, I'm just making a simple request that we form a committee and look into the problems of what this seal really means and who are they actually killing, as far as killing our livelihood and what's going on with the system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Lillian Jamar, Plainfield, New Jersey. I'm here because I've been on this committee since some of you weren't even born. I don't think you were. In 1957. I've watched everything go on, and I've watched how everybody did things, how they bickered back and forth instead of getting the business done. And I'm tired of that. And I want to tell you, I've been on this committee since none of you were on it. And Jerry Green came on since I was on. And one thing you must remember, Jerry, I don't knock him. If I have something to say to him I don't like, I go to him and tell him. And if he don't like it, he tells me and I tell him what I don't like. Jerry Green is a nice man, but remember one thing, Jerry Green is there by somebody in Union County putting him there. And he has to do what they say do. And don't you think for 1 minute that he's doing what he wants to do when you are out. I saw all of you at election time except Miss Taylor down there working to get that man in. And all of you, whoever was running, to get yourself in. Don't knock Jerry Green. If you got something to say about him, tell him to his face. If you don't like what he's doing, you tell him. And that's what I'm saying about all of you, every one of you. You do what you feel is right. Then if it's wrong, it's on you or them that let you do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Miss Lillian.
Produced through 1171 Gresham Road. I'm going to make a disclaimer of, obviously I don't know as much as the councilman knows, as much as the city administration knows, and as much as the mayor knows about what goes on in the background. But every session I'm always amazed. And when it sounds like it's 100% support or you don't support me at all. And that's just not how things work. There's compromise in things. I'm sure we all have professions in our life, and we don't ever get 100% what we want. And that's not a negative thing. That's not saying that the other person doesn't like me. That's not, my best friend, he doesn't support me 100% of the time, and then he's not my friend anymore. I think there's compromise that's available in this budget, and as well as in everything that goes on in Plainfield. Whether there's 20 new hires, I think there's 20 new positions in the budget. If the administration gets 10, that's not a loss to the administration. If the council can only eliminate 10, that's not a loss to the council. There's give and take, and I think that just needs to be reminded in all these administration deliberations and these agendas, because a lot can be done with half or a quarter or 75% of what you're requesting. Also, I just wanted to speak about the residency. I think Councilwoman Teller made a fair point, in that if you're gonna pay someone, there should be an incentive, there should be a mandate that the person work within the city. I work for the state. The state does not allow you to work within the state. You work as a state employee unless you live within the state, and they're pretty hard on that. Now, there's exceptions to every rule, don't get me wrong, but there's not a lot of nice places to live in Plainfield. Just drive around. If someone really wants to work in Plainfield, they can find a nice place to live in Plainfield. And it doesn't have to be immediately. They can give them a year, say, okay, you have a year's time to find a new place to live, or some type of arrangement. But I do think that's a mandate that should be stuck to, because that's tax money coming back into the city. $80,000 going out, but you're getting property taxes back. I blanked. Okay. Have a good night.
You too, thank you. Thank you so much. Can I just say, I hope you think about running for office someday.
Hi, Natasha Bone, again, 22 Emma Street. I just want to reiterate with the business diversity, because I'm really, economic development is really passion of mine. I've conducted and created free workshops here in the city in collaboration with the Board of Ed for families to come out and get free small business workshop, just basic 101 to come out. I think one of the issues with people not starting businesses here is they don't know the dynamics. They don't know the how to start the business, and they don't know the dynamics of starting a business inside here in Plainfield. We have a business incubator. I think it could be expanded. I think it could be marketed better to individuals that want to start businesses. I just think that when your city economically is stable, you'll start seeing a pride in your city. People start taking better pride of their property. They'll start taking better pride of the downtown area. They'll start taking better pride of the branding that comes with the city. They won't be so quick to take their money outside. They'll spend it inside the city. Let's be truthful, most of the stores, the people that have the money to go outside, there's nothing downtown for them to want to spend their money at. And the ones that do have the money and don't have transportation, they go down there out of desperation. I hate to say desperation, but the fact of the matter is we need better businesses in the community. We need to attract better businesses. We need to attract people who want to do business here. You have a lot of online businesses starting out of Plainfield, and they would like to migrate into a brick and mortar store, but they cannot do it for whatever reason. They don't know how to do it. They don't have the revenue right now. They don't see putting money into a business in a brick and mortar store here when the crime is the way it is. Let's be honest, the crime and is a big issue here. So who's going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to open a store here when their constituents or their consumers or their clients are afraid to come down here to patronize them. So they'll take the $100,000 and go somewhere where it's expensive, like Watchung and Warren, but they know they're gonna get the business because people are not scared to go into that area. So that's just something that you may wanna consider an economic development.
Thank you.
Mustafa Muhammad, 919 Front Street, Madam President, Council members, Mayor, residents in the city of Plainfield. Just a few things I'd like to say. The word compromise is a wonderful thing what our chairman from SPAC just talked about, and sister was talking about with economic development. But I want to say this, that unfortunately, we sometimes be so thin-skinned that we think that because everybody don't agree with you, or it doesn't see it your way, you know, that something is seriously wrong. You know, the Bible speaks about variances. You know, there's going to be variances. You know, in friction, there's growth. There is no growth without friction. There has to be some kind of friction. You know, Reverend, the great and honorable Reverend Jeremiah Wright said, you know, differences doesn't necessarily mean deficiencies. You know, because we see it differently doesn't mean that there's deficiencies. You know, and with this very astute, Councilman Reed made a statement one time and said, I believe that we have probably the most educated mayor that Plainfield probably ever had. It's a plus. But that does not mean that we completely give over to the mayor carte blanche to allow him to do whatever he wants without being critiqued. Very intelligent man, got intelligent men in his cabinet. But I also heard intelligent man in his cabinet say, we lean and mean. Well, are we really lean and mean? You know, one of the councilmen said, well, let's forget about yesterday. That's an insult to me. You should never forget about yesterday, whether it's current history or distant past history. History best rewards research. So we have to measure by those things that has happened in the past. Nevertheless, the best interest of the total population. Some of us believe, well, the electorate is being disenfranchised. On the contrary, 7,000 people came out to vote out of 24,500 people with a population well over 50,000 people. That doesn't mean they held with them. No, it does not mean that. So yes, we do need compromise. We do need to work things out for the good of the whole, for the good of the whole. And I believe that we need a political paradigm that is quite different. We don't need to follow benchmarks that are not working nowhere across the country, because that's what's going on. This stuff is not unique to Plainfield, what's happening here. And contrary to, and I'm saying this very respectfully, I have to disagree with you, Councilman Reed, and agree with the young lady over here. I believe that the ratables is going to be lined up. They're lining up already to come to Plainfield. They're coming. But I think we need to invest in our people. You know, there is another compromise that's taking place. We're compromising the people, our residents who have lived here for a long time. You know, our senior said for 57, well, one year I got there. So as long as she's been working for 57, I'm 58, so I've been here. And that population that I have grown up with and have known, they being disenfranchised and gentrified. We're talking about the electorate being gentrified, disenfranchised. It's not just about the electorate that participated. It's about the population, the total population. But we need to invest in them. Now, the mayor during the campaign spoke about a wonderful program, and Scott Bieler made a joke about it when he talked about helping the youth. I believe it was Moet. I've been waiting to hear about this Moet and about this groundbreaking thing that he proposed, that we were going to do something like Woodbridge for our youth that would include the youth all the way to our seniors. I haven't heard it yet. But when these companies come in here, these builders come in here, we need to invest in our young people. We need apprenticeship programs. They need jobs. They need economics. People need to get off the street. They need to be able to take care of their family members. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking to hear. And this can be done, but we can work together with one another. But just because I question you or I don't agree with you. You know, because we was told that for a long time as a people, don't question nothing. So I test that. I question everything. I don't care what you want. I'm going to question you. I'm going to think about it. I think you should question me. And this is how it gets done. You know, but I think there are brighter days. We can't go no further down. Can't get no lower than this. We can't go no way but up. But we will question you every step of the way. And we will check the council, and we will disagree with you if we don't agree with you every step of the way. And we will encourage the residents. But our residents, they lost hope.
Make a motion to extend this time.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
I'm going to finish this very quickly. Our residents has lost hope. And you can tell by the electorate, 17,000 people didn't show up at the polls. That's ridiculous. And out of well over 50,000 people, I'm sure more than 24,500 of them, more than that, are adults. And then we have just so many laws and rules that's on the books that just disenfranchise our people from even being able to participate in the electoral process. They think nothing is going to change anyway. That's what they think. That's what they believe. And that's a shame. I think that is a crying shame. But those who have, to whom much is given, and a lot of us are faith-based people up there, to whom much is given, much is required. So let's make it happen. Thank you so very much.
Good evening to the Honorable Mayor, my friend, everyone, and to the councils and my friend Rebecca. Some of y'all probably know me from a long time ago. I was one of the first black women before Sharon Roberts came to mayor. And we had a lot of killing. I don't know if any of y'all remember that. But we had a lot of murders in Plainfield. Back to back. Back to back. People was getting killed. And God put on my heart to come down to the city hall and do an application. And I did an application, filled out the form where we can have prayer on the steps of City Hall. It just wasn't prayer, we had actually service. We had church on the step of City Hall. And what I did, and I had another pastor to work with me, we called for all the ministers and the officials, everyone that worked in Plainfield had something to do in Plainfield. But everything worked out. It was perfect. Rick Smiley worked with me right to the T. And we had a good time, and I still have the pictures at my home, and I still have where Reverend Ball, she was one of our guest speakers on the steps of the City Hall. We had the music, and I know without a shadow of doubt that prayer can change the city of Plainfield. And another thing I want to say too, while I'm standing up, a lot of y'all know that my husband now is in the nursing home. Rebecca, no. I talked to the councilwoman. I know we ain't talking about, but my husband stayed in and out the hospital because he's on dialysis. Well, one day we had to rush him back to the hospital at JFK. We rushed him back, and he was there. They kept him probably like a week or two. And it hurt me, still hurts me, but we're getting over that. But anyway, one night I was in the bed, It was 9:30. It was a knock at my door. They come rolling my husband in from the hospital. And I did not know that he was coming in, that they was bringing him home from the hospital. Even though I had the hospital bed and everything set up in my home. And then the next day he kept saying, Debbie, I taste blood in my mouth. I taste blood in my mouth. So what happened was I called the doctor, and the doctor told me to get him back to the hospital right away. And he begged for me not to take him back. He was only home for 2 days. 2 days he was home. And when I called Mercy 6, when he couldn't even breathe, when they got to my home, they said, oh, we think Mr. Jones is gone. And I said, no, he's not gone until God said he's gone. He's not gone. So they got him back to the hospital. The man was hemorrhaging on the inside. That thing hurted me so bad. But someone was there from the city of Plainfield. I can't think of the person's name. But she was there. You see, y'all don't know. They got in contact with the state. They got in contact with the state. And those people were so good to me. They were so nice to me. My husband never came back home again. He can't do nothing for himself. Just because they brought him home. I'm not a nurse. I didn't know what to do. I'm sorry, I'm almost finished. But my husband now is in the nursing home on East Front Street, where they have to do everything for him. And I just want to let y'all know, just a little tip a bit, what's going on. I start not to say anything, but I say no. I think that they should know that they rolled my husband in after, I think it was about 9:30 or 10 o'clock that night. I didn't even know he was coming home. So I just want y'all to know, you know, just a little bit what's going on about me. I am a minister. I even reach out to senior citizens. I do Bible class there every Wednesday. Every Wednesday I do Bible class. Y'all might see it on the Facebook. So, you know, I know that prayer changed. I know that prayer will change the city, but we all have to work together. We can't bicker and talk about each other. We have to love each other, embrace each other.
Seeing none, propose to the floor. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention, motion carries. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Second. All those in favor? Aye.